The scorching apocalypse arrives, bringing the orc system with it. Top scorers in the national exams got first pick of elite orcs. My sister and parents forced me to give up the snow python, leaving me no choice but to spend all my credits on the firefox. The heatwave apocalypse ended abruptly, only for extreme cold to follow. All three of them froze to death, preserved like ice sculptures. The firefox had always fancied my sister. After her death, he schemed to have me killed. Reborn with memories intact, my sister's desperate grab for the firefox again. Perfect, just what I wanted. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting rigidly at my desk, staring at my college entrance exam results on the screen. 2 days before my exam scores were due last life, the heat apocalypse began, Earth's temperatures creeping toward oblivion, lives kept vanishing, until the system descended. Offering survivors their first glimmer of hope, the orc system allows everyone to bond with an orc. With selection priority based on college entrance exam scores, higher scores grant first pick of noble-blooded orcs, while lower scores leave you with the leftovers. Right now I can't even be bothered to check my scores. I already did that in my past life. I've always been a top student, unlike my younger sister whose academic performance leaves much to be desired. There were only 2 of us siblings, but our parents always favored her since childhood. I couldn't be bothered to argue over such trivial matters, so I channeled all my energy into studying. That's why I consistently ranked top of my class. My sister Lena, spoiled rotten, remained our parents' favorite despite her poor academic performance. That's why in my past life, when I chose an orc companion, she conspired with our parents to steal the frost serpent orc I'd selected. As expected, this drama was inevitable once again. Sure enough, the door swung open moments later. Lena barged in with her parents in tow. "Sis, have you checked your scores yet?" They barged in without any courtesy, and Lena bluntly confronted me. "Checked, ranked first in the entire province." Lena's eyes burned with envious hatred. Watching her like this gave me a certain smug satisfaction. She looked down on me, reveling in always having the upper hand at home while basking in our parents' favor. Yet she'd sweet-talk me into giving up the orc. My parents' faces lit up at my response. Really? I always knew our test would ace the college entrance exam and come out on top. Oh yes, we've got a real scholar in the family now. Our ancestors must be dancing in their graves. Lena felt humiliated by her parents' excessive praise, wearing a look of utter disdain. Times have changed. With the apocalypse upon us, good grades mean nothing. Survival is the only thing that matters now. I couldn't help but feel exasperated by her eagerness to rain on my parade. But I have top grades, that gives me priority selection rights for orc partners. Doesn't that maximize my survival chances? I yawned, saying it with deliberate nonchalance. Lena's face darkened instantly as the realization suddenly hit her. She hadn't come to pick a fight with me this time. Lena's face kept shifting expressions like a peaking opera performer. "Sis, you haven't picked your orc yet, right? Haven't had the chance yet, just checked my results." "What kind of orc are you thinking of choosing, sis? No need for your concern. These orcs are all premium bloodlines, more than capable of protecting me." Lena's expression turned venomous as she spoke. "Sis, pull up the selection screen. Let me see what these elite orcs look like too." With Lena's performance records, she'd never get access to top-tier orcs. At these words, both parents seemed to have a sudden realization. Prompted by Lena's remark, they once again showed their favoritism. "Yes, Tess, let us have a look. You know Lena's grades aren't good. Just let her take a peek." I could practically see the dollar signs flashing in their eyes. I opened the selection page. 2 orc image projections suddenly materialized midair. A massive snow-white serpent lay coiled obediently on the snowy ground. A proud crimson fox sat regally upon the stone. Lena's eyes lit up the moment she spotted the fiery fox. But my gaze burned with nothing but resentment. In our past life, Lena had instantly fixated on the snow python during the scorching heat wave. The 3 of them coaxed and threatened me into handing over the snow python to Lena. That firefox cost me all my college entrance exam points in one go. This left me completely defenseless later on, yet Lena got a top-tier snow python from me for nothing, and wouldn't even spare me a single point to survive. "Sis, could you let me have this firefox?" Hearing this completely different choice from our previous life, I realized Lena must have been reborn too. There's no way she'd choose a fire tribute beastman unless she knew the scorching weather would soon give way to eternal frost. Why should I? This is my first pick privilege. What makes you think I'd give it up for you? Tess, Lena's your own sister. As the elder one, can't you just give in to her? Exactly, Tess, she's your only little sister. What's the harm in looking out for her since she's younger? How ridiculous. Do they think she's their only daughter or something? I've had to yield to her my whole life. Sure, she's younger, but I'm older. Why doesn't she ever give way for me? Even Conrong knew to offer the bigger pair. It's a story every 3-year-old knows. And my Beastmaster certification, I earned that 3 years of hard work. Why on earth should I give it up? I thought if they were willing to repent, I could lend them a helping hand. After all, they are my birth parents. Now it seems there's really no need for that. Lena bit her lip, visibly upset. Are you trying to drive me to despair, sis? You know my grades are poor, and with this scorching heat, I didn't even ask for that cold-blooded snake. Can't you just help me out? Had I not witnessed her vicious act of snatching the snow python in her past life, I might have actually believed she made sense. That snow python didn't last long under her care. She refused to invest any points in it, leaving it permanently stuck in its primal form. Later during the frost calamity, she abandoned it completely. To think a top-tier beastkin could be driven to death by her neglect. What a talent. Without the beastkin's protection, Lena and my parents all froze to death together in the extreme cold. With no credits left, I had to keep playing life or death games in the system to earn points just to feed that firefox. But during my constant gaming grind, Lena had already seduced the firefox behind my back, so the evolved firefox I nearly died to raise ended up resenting me, its devoted owner. After Lena's death, in the end, it abandoned me in the frozen wilderness, leaving me to be torn apart and devoured by mindless primal beasts. Seeing Lena so determined to get that firefox, I'm tempted to let her have it. Let's see how she'll handle this money-draining fox without me. Without hesitation, I immediately selected the snow python and bound it. The moment I confirmed the binding, the snow python's image vanished instantly. A slender, snow-white serpent materialized in the room, coiling around my arm. The temperature in the room instantly dropped by several degrees when he entered, bringing immediate relief from the heat. Seeing that I didn't choose the firefox, Lena visibly relaxed. Sis, my points aren't enough for the firefox. Could you use your points to help me get it? No way. If I trade for the firefox, I'll have no points left to protect myself. I tapped the little snake's head with my finger. Its beady eyes stared at me as it flicked its forked pink tongue to give my face a gentle lick. I let it slither freely across my body. I can share some of my points with you, sis. It's a win-win. Our family will have 2 top-tier beastkin. We'll definitely thrive together. Such a beautifully painted pie in the sky. Last time I took just one bite of that empty promise, it nearly choked me to death. In my past life, she was perfectly willing to watch me die without giving me a single point. In the end, I was forced to keep playing system games nonstop just to earn enough points to survive. Here's an idea, Lena. Transfer all your points to me first, and let mom and dad cover any shortfall. Since I've got more points, we'll use mine as the family's emergency survival fund. Sound good? No way. Without a second thought, Lena flat out rejected my proposal. Just because Lena said no, those biased parents mindlessly backed her up. What? It's fine when we use my points, but not yours. Are you trying to drain me dry and leave me to die? Of course not. You're my sister. I'd never abandon you. I'm sick of seeing their hypocritical faces. I made an impatient gesture as if giving up on Firefox and said to them, enough with the nonsense. Use your own points if you want to trade, or I'll just give up and let someone else choose. Lena looked anxious, yet still reluctant to use her own points. Just as my finger hovered over the give up button, she finally gritted her teeth and agreed. After transferring all 3 of their points to my account, I helped her trade for the Firefox. Then, amidst their looks of bitter envy, I kicked all 3 of them out of the room. Lena was now cradling the newly acquired Firefox in her arms, absolutely thrilled. Little did she know what price she'd have to pay for raising him. I recklessly spent all my system points in the virtual store, exchanging them for anything that could benefit the snow python: nutritional supplements, growth elixirs, elemental energy. I spared no expense on anything that might help him. Within days, my constant point investments had transformed the little snake into the beginnings of a true python. It used to slither around my shoulders and neck like a slender water hose. Now when it climbs on me, I can feel its substantial weight. You're getting heavy. If you keep coiling around my neck like this, you'll give me spinal problems. I tapped its head, now as big as my fist, making its snake head wobble with each poke. He tilted his head with a slightly confused look, then swiped his tongue across my cheek, utterly adorable. I planted a loud smooch right on his head. His snow-white head gradually flushed pink, growing cuter by the second. I ignored his wiggling antics after that. I need to properly prepare for the coming extreme cold. I'll allocate some points to raise the snow python, but I can't keep living off dwindling resources forever. Fortunately, I have the experience and memories from my previous life in this game. Earning more points for survival won't be a problem. Lena was still cradling her precious fox when we went to the dining room for dinner. Aren't you worried about overheating? I just smiled. I rolled a drink bottle against the snow python, and frost instantly formed on its surface. In the scorching heat, the snow python works better than any refrigerator or air conditioner. TCH, what do you know? Just wait, you'll see soon enough. Even Lena was astonished by the snow python's rapid growth. How did he grow so much in just these past few days? The snow python now stood with its upper body raised to my waist height. quietly poised beside me. True, that snow python Lena kept in her hands in my past life remained just a slender little snake until its death, hardly deserving of the python title. Of course it's raised by feeding. Don't tell me you. I pointed at the red fox with visible distaste and said, don't tell me you're not feeding it at all. No wonder it's not growing. A glint flashed through Firefox's eyes at my words. What the hell is this damn fox scheming? I've already let him have Lena in this lifetime. What other twisted ideas is he harboring? What? You spent all your credits raising this godforsaken snake, Lena practically shouted, as if making sure her parents wouldn't miss a word, her voice booming through the entire house. Sure enough, the next moment my parents rushed out pointing at me and yelling, ungrateful child, how dare you? Those points were for the whole family to share. And you spent them all. How are we supposed to survive now? Lena looked at me with a smug expression. How pathetic. She actually thinks pulling the parent card in this situation would give her some sort of superiority. Let's get one thing straight. Your scores are tied to that fox. Meanwhile, I can spend mine however I please. Watching them glare at me helplessly filled me with pure satisfaction. This is Mom and Dad's house. Don't think we won't throw you out to fend for yourself. Lena pointed at me angrily, stroking the snake's head beside me. I said nonchalantly, with him by my side, I'll live comfortably even if you kick me out, but your AC can barely handle this heat, and your fox is practically a furnace. Sure you want to evict us both. Just wait, when this heat wave passes, you'll freeze to death out there. Lena laid bare her innermost thoughts without reservation. If you don't properly care for your fox, do you really think he'll be capable of protecting you when I freeze to death? I retreated to the house under her astonished gaze. My words provoked Lena, compounded by the fox's resentment toward her. Lena joined the game, but given her skills, just making it back alive was impressive enough, let alone scoring points. After several rounds, she was left with fresh wounds and only a handful of points to show for it. At this rate, she couldn't possibly keep up with the firefox's growth demands. So when Lena entered the game again, that fox came knocking at my door. I opened the door to let him in, and he leaped onto my chair, his fingers dancing across the keyboard with practiced ease as he typed out a string of words. Tess, why choose that useless snake? You know the coming winter will be brutal. I'm the beast man best suited to help you survive. The snow python beside me had his usually round eyes narrowed to slits, his tail thumping rhythmically against the floorboards in clear agitation. My hand moved in slow, soothing strokes along his scales to calm him. Damn fox, don't tell me you've been reborn too. Then you should remember the blood feud between us from our past life. No matter how perfectly your talents suit survival in this world, I won't be stupid enough to raise a beast that'll stab me in the back again. The rapid clatter of keyboard keys erupted urgently. I was just under Lena's spell back then. I regretted it later. That's why I self-destructed right after you died. Though the fox's eyes held remorse, my heart wouldn't soften this time. It's fine, I've already found the perfect beastkin for me, and I've made peace with you and Lena. Just go ahead and form your contract with her properly. Before the fox could type another word, a snow-white serpent's tail swept him out the door, simultaneously slamming and locking it in one fluid motion. Just as I reached for the familiar serpent scales, arms wrapped around me from behind, accompanied by a chilling breath against my ear. Did you choose him in your past life? So I was never your first choice. Am I just your last resort when you had no other options? His barrage of plaintive questions completely caught me off guard. He transformed. Last life he kicked the bucket before achieving human form. Never got to see what he looked like as a human. Of course not, last time around. Lena snatched you away first, left me no choice but to settle for that stinky fox. I kept soothing him while twisting around to get a look, absolute perfection. When that fox first transformed, his beauty was already otherworldly, but now the snow serpent rivals him completely. No, he stirs my heart even more. His silver eyes gaze at me with deep affection, white locks cascading down the sculpted muscles of his torso and those perfect V-lines, such a shame, below the navel. Serpent's coils begin, following my gaze downward, his cheeks flush pink again. Still that shy little snake. What are you looking at? No peeking. When my gaze wandered toward his private area, he bashfully covered my eyes with his hand. I didn't push his hand away, but teased him instead. I heard snakes like you all have too, MMMPH. Before I could finish, he quickly covered my mouth with his hand. His body instantly turned pink, a white snake becoming blush-colored. All right, I'll stop. Do you have a name? Silas, over here. I've trained Silas to become exceptionally capable. Meanwhile, the fox keeps pestering Lena to join the game, complaining about her slow progress. Drawing on my gaming experience, I've already started participating to rack up points. Every time I enter the game, Silas waits impatiently in my room. Only when he sees me exit the game unharmed does he return to his usual docile state. Outside, the weather gradually returned to normal. Just as everyone was celebrating the approaching end of the apocalypse, I frowned while gazing out the window. The extreme heat didn't last long in my previous life before temperatures returned to normal. Just as everyone let their guard down, the temperatures began an irreversible, steady decline. As frost encased the world, savage beasts emerged in cities and streets, creatures driven purely by primal instincts. In my past life, I met a gruesome end in the fangs of those bloodthirsty beasts. Silas noticed the worry in my eyes and wrapped his arms around me from behind. "I'll train harder, don't worry. I'll definitely keep you safe." The sound of his voice instantly put me at ease. "It's getting chilly. How about we find a way to warm up over there?" Silas is turning into a bashful pink snake again. I've already set up the bubbling red broth on the side, chopsticks poised ready to dip the meat. You're not eating. Seeing I've already prepared the hot pot. Silas seemed slightly annoyed. I paused for a moment, then said with a laugh, "It's still early, save those thoughts for tonight. Who's thinking about that sort of thing? What a shy and sunder a snake." The temperature has returned to normal and shows signs of continuing to drop. Lena threatened to make me hand over the points. "Tess, your days of gloating are over. The deep freeze is coming, and you've brought along that cold-blooded snake man. Hand over the points nicely. And Mom and Dad might still give you a place to stay, otherwise, you can take him and hit the road." Lena crossed her arms and issued commands with her nose in the air. I glanced at my parents sitting silently nearby. "Is that what you think too, that you'll kick me out if I don't hand over my grades?" My parents' faces briefly twisted in hesitation before hardening with resolve. "That's right, Tess, just give your grades to Lena, we're family, after all. Hand over your grades or get out of this house, you and your snake." I was prepared to at least ensure you'd never go hungry, but clearly that's wasted effort. Since Lena's the only child you care about, don't blame me for washing my hands of you. The early winter chill was still bearable, and daylight hadn't completely faded yet. I headed out with Silas. Scattered beasts were already roaming the streets in loose formations. The creatures kept their distance, wary of Silas by my side. "Let's find an empty house to hole up in for now. Follow me." Silas pulled me along as if he had a clear destination in mind. In front of a pitch-black villa, Silas effortlessly opened the main door like he'd done it countless times. I stared at him with complete bewilderment. Ahem, this was my old wife fund savings. Then the system snatched me away to become a bonded beastman. From his explanation, I finally understood that the beasts bound by the system were actually supernatural creatures who had cultivated in this world. Just like that, I moved into Silas's house openly and without pretense. I never expected to see Lena again so soon. We crossed paths during a game. Silas stood by my side, while a fiery red-haired man loomed beside her. I knew that fox Blaze all too well. Well, never thought you'd survive this long out in the wild. My brow furrowed as I took in Lena's still healing wounds. Is she an idiot? She actually brought Blaze into the game with her, yet still can't see that damn fox has zero intention of protecting her. In my past life, Blaze just shamelessly took the points I risked my life to earn, never once bothered to join me in the game and fight side by side. The fox hasn't changed a bit, same old temperament. Spare me your fake concern about whether I'll survive, worry about yourself first. You managed to drag an orc into the game yet still ended up in such a pathetic state. Lena shot Blaze a disapproving glare. With my strategic mind complementing Silverdust's combat skills, we carved for challenges effortlessly. Before long, we'd amassed a considerable score. Meanwhile, Silverdust began preparations for the impending extreme cold. He wasn't worried for himself, but feared I couldn't withstand the coming freeze. Though we could reinforce shelter and maintain heating, he insisted on thorough preparations. He began practicing fire magic, which contradicted his innate elemental affinity. Watching him train repeatedly, getting injured and healing only to repeat the cycle, I begged him countless times to stop hurting himself like this. He kept studying in secret, yet never found a way to reconcile the opposing elements. As temperatures plunged dozens of degrees below zero, his desperation grew. Worried he might lose control in a moment of recklessness, I stayed by his side constantly, barely even logging into games anymore. Lena died, perished inside a game session. That particular run wasn't even dangerous. She'd brought Blaze along, yet he emerged completely unscathed. When he exited the game, there wasn't a single scratch on him, no trace of grief or distress over losing his master either. I remember when wild beasts devoured me, he watched with that same expressionless face as my flesh was torn apart, piece by piece. That fox truly can't shed its savage nature. On that day, Blaze came knocking at my door. Really, behind him trailed a pack of beasts still untouched by humanity. Lena's dead. I can choose a new master now. Will you bond with me? A person can bond with multiple beast folk, but I, Silas, only need one. How did Lena die? Blaze scoffed. wearing an expression of utter disdain as he said, "It's all because she's utterly useless, dim-witted and nowhere near your caliber. The pathetic scraps of points she scraped together could never sustain my human form. What a worthless waste. If she couldn't sustain you, then how exactly did you accelerate your cultivation?" I tricked her into signing a binding pact. Every point she loses fuels my strength, every wound, every drop of blood she shed in-game became my nourishment. "So you just watched her die? Blaze, you're truly incorrigible. What makes you think I'd ever choose you again? Your selfishness, or your blatant disregard for human life?" Blaze's expression darkened as I repeatedly humiliated him. "Tess, think carefully. This is your last chance. Even if you beg on your knees later, it'll be pointless." Enraged by these words, Silverdust knocked Blaze out the door. Blaze blocked the strike with his arm, standing in the snow as he studied Silverdust before a look of realization dawned on his face. "Tess, that pathetic snake of yours will be a dead one if it keeps this up. How long do you think it can protect you? You'd be smarter to see the writing on the wall and come to me." "Blaze, rest assured, even if I die in this lifetime, it won't be before your eyes. One brush with death was enough to teach me my lesson." After seeing Blaze off, my expression turned grave. "Silverdust truly can't go on like this any longer." Before long, my parents actually braved the freezing snowstorm outside to come looking for me. By the time they reached the doorstep, they were shivering uncontrollably from the cold, barely clinging to life. I had each and carried them inside. The sudden warmth gradually brought them back to their senses. Once they recovered, they began sizing up the villa right in front of me. Their eyes gleamed with shrewd calculation. "What brings you here? Where's your own place?" Mom immediately played the family card. "Tess, ever since you left, I haven't been able to eat or sleep properly. I keep worrying about how you're managing out there in this freezing weather." Dad was putting on an act, pretending to comfort Mom while actually using filial piety to guilt-trip me. "Stop crying now. Look how capable our Tess is, living in such a big house. Seeing her doing so well should put your mind at ease." I couldn't be bothered to engage with their drama. "Let's be honest, you were the ones who kicked me out back then. What brings you looking for me now?" They exchanged glances, looking at me with visible guilt. It was unavoidable at the time. "Now that Lena's gone, you're our only daughter left. You know we spent all our savings getting that fox for your sister. We've got no income now. You can't just abandon us." Bit late to start playing the filial piety card now, isn't it? You kicked me out without a second thought about whether I'd survive, and now you have the nerve to demand I support you. Isn't your precious Lena enough for you? Saving your lives today repays my debt for you bringing me into this world. Whether you survive from now on is your own business." Ignoring them, I headed upstairs, pausing midway. "I gave you a chance. I would have taken care of you, but you're the ones who chose to cast me aside." With that, he continued upstairs and entered the room. Winter nights were pitch black, and the hushed whispers of the two drifted up from the living room below. "Do you think that fox is tricking us? Whether it's a trick or not, I'll do anything to save Lena. But how could we ever stand a chance against that serpent? In this bitter cold, snakes can't resist their hibernation instinct. We'll strike when it's weakened. What about Tess? If she knows what's good for her, I'll still acknowledge her as my daughter, but if she dares stand in my way, don't make me slay my own child. Nothing will stop me from bringing Lena back." In the pitch-black hallway, I stood barefoot in the shadows, silently listening to their scheming. Without a word, I turned and retreated into the room. The bitter cold had indeed taken its toll on Silverdust, leaving him increasingly listless. His serpentine body had grown even more massive. Now coiled motionless on the carpet at the room center, I walked over and settled onto his body as he slowly unfurled himself to encircle me, his massive head drowsily resting on my lap, gently stroking the scales on his forehead. I silently vowed to protect him at all costs. No one shall harm him, not even my own parents. From the next day onward, my parents began showering us with unusual attentiveness. They cleaned the house, cooked delicious meals, and spoke with unusual tenderness. For a moment, they truly resembled doting, loving parents. Had I not known their real agenda, even I might have been fooled by this facade of parental affection. I watched coldly as they bustled about, performing all the duties normal parents would for their child, except their only motive was reviving Lena. The two of them were sneaking around, eavesdropping on the noises in my room. What could possibly be in there? Just a sluggish giant snake about to hibernate. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" They quickly hid the knives in their hands and turned to look at me guiltily as I stood behind them. "Oh Tess, didn't you go downstairs for dinner? I'm done eating. What are you guys doing outside my room? Aren't you going to get dinner? We already ate. We noticed your orc didn't come down for dinner, so we came to check on him. He's fine. Don't come to this room unless necessary from now on." Seeing my attitude, they left without another word. Night fell, and I remained lying on the rug he'd cordoned off. A rustling sound came from outside the room. I sat up just as the door began creaking open, the faint glow of serpent scales reflected off their gleaming blades. Seeing me sitting there waiting for them, they finally dropped their act. "Tess, this snake must die today. Lena is your family, your own sister. You can't stand in our way for her sake. Was it that fox who told you killing Silverdust would bring Lena back? He's the one who got her killed. How could you still believe his lies?" A flicker of hesitation crossed their eyes, but madness quickly swallowed it whole. "Whether he's lying or not, we've got to try, for Lena's sake." My mother sobbed and shouted at me. "I'd do anything for Lena, just bring her back to me." With that, she lunged at the snake in my arms with a knife. I shielded Silverdust in my arms, turning my body to take the knife thrust straight into my shoulder. When the first strike missed, she yanked the dagger free and prepared to strike again. The scent of blood roused the slumbering Silverdust, who sent them both tumbling downstairs with a powerful sweep of his tail. The door shattered under the impact. Such a brutal blow was more than those two could withstand. Blood kept oozing from the wound on my shoulder, soaking through my clothes. Blaze appeared before me at that moment, looking every bit the triumphant victor, unnoticed by him. The dark sky outside churned with rolling storm clouds, lightning flashing like silver threads. "Look at you now, Tess, what a mess. That useless snake of yours really let you down, leaving you this badly wounded." My face pale, I looked up at Blaze. "You'll meet the same fate." Blaze sneered, and was about to speak when lightning struck outside the window. A violet-tinged bolt came crashing down into the courtyard with deadly precision. A deafening thunderclap startled Blaze. As a beastkin cultivator, he carried an instinctive dread of lightning deep in his bones. "Heavenly tribulation lightning. Tess, what have you done? You're summoning divine retribution to help him break through. Do you think it's that simple? No beastkin cultivator has survived the heavenly trial in centuries. You're pushing him towards certain death." The giant serpent in my arms grew restless, and I held him tighter against my chest. "Mind your own business. At worst we'll perish together. The heavenly tribulation lightning's already been summoned. Nothing survives this except Silverdust." Blaze tried to bolt, only to find himself trapped in the room. "What did you do? Just traded some points for handy gadgets, like this barrier? Tess, do you hate me this much? Enough to wish me dead?" "Blaze, don't flatter yourself. Hate stems from love. I simply couldn't accept my miserable death in our past life. Consider this revenge a bonus. Tess, you'll die too, I know. How do you think I summoned this heavenly tribulation? I owe you for that. Before dying in my past life, I learned the truth behind this apocalypse. For millennia, no beastkin has ever survived the celestial trial, so the heavenly Tao orchestrated this cleansing. I struck a deal with the system before death. My rebirth would help one beastkin transcend. This is the world's final chance. If we fail, the apocalypse will wipe all life and birth a new creation. Now we'll see if this deal makes or breaks us." Blaze glared at me with bloodshot eyes and shouted, "You're insane, absolutely mad." I calmly watched his frantic panic, frantically attacking the barrier in a desperate attempt to escape, but all efforts proved futile. When the first thunderbolt struck, I used points-exchanged items to shield Silverdust. There were 9 heavenly strikes in total, yet all my accumulated points could only block 7 for him. Blaze beside me wasn't so fortunate. A single lightning strike nearly reduced him to his primal form. "Let's see how many strikes you can take. Who knows, surviving 9 heavenly bolts might just complete your tribulation. I'm doing you a favor." Blood trickled from the corner of my mouth as I watched Blaze laugh maniacally. Blaze sat on the ground, staring at me with vacant eyes before spitting out a mouthful of blood. "This is madness." The second and third heavenly strikes came in rapid succession. Though protected by artifacts, I remained mere mortal flesh. Silverdust watched me take wound after wound, his eyes burning crimson. As he writhed to pin me beneath him, I clung tight and whispered soothing words. "Easy now, it'll be over soon. Just stay still, love." After the 7th heavenly strike, I was left completely defenseless with no items remaining. Blaze beside me was struck beyond recognition, his eyes still glaring at me with bitter resentment until his final breath. Protected by magical artifacts, Silverdust sustained only minor injuries as the 8th heavenly strike descended. I threw myself before Silverdust, only to be suddenly caught in an icy embrace. He tore off his own protective scales and placed them upon me, holding me tight in his embrace. Barely surviving this heavenly tribulation, only one final trial remains. 2 symmetrical little horns emerged from Ancient's forehead, translucent as bone and gleaming with silvery radiance. I smiled at him. "Looks like my little serpent is ascending to dragonhood." Each word spilled from his lips mingled with fresh blood. A final lightning strike flashed across the sky, shaking the earth with its thunderous roar. I saw Silverdust's lips moving in silent words before they met mine in a kiss. The love was deafening, but I can't hear anything anymore. Good heavens. That dry thunderstorm the other day was massive. It felt like the ground was shaking. "Tell me about it." the weather was freezing cold, and that thunder came out of nowhere. I thought it was an earthquake. Thankfully, after that night's thunderstorm, the temperature finally returned to normal. Tell me about it. One minute it was scorching like the desert, the next freezing like the Arctic. What's up with the weather? But thank goodness it's back to normal now. Who can make sense of nature's wrath and human misfortunes? The streets were bustling with people again, just like before the apocalypse. Orcs still exist, living peacefully alongside humans. In the courtyard of a villa, I was angrily digging holes back and forth with a hoe. Silverdust, what's this ridiculous habit you've developed since becoming a dragon? Where did you hide all my jewelry? I only knew dogs bury bones. But since when do dragons bury secret stashes of cash? Silverdust darted behind me in a flash, wrapping his arms around me while one hand gently rested on my belly. Tess, don't be angry, you'll upset the baby. I just can't help collecting shiny things. I spun around and precisely grabbed his tail with one hand, grinning mischievously. Can't control yourself, huh? If resisting temptations is so hard, then you'll have to resist your desires from now on. No touching me for 500 years. No, Tess, I'm sorry, babe. The end. Story 2, Reborn in 2 lifetimes. The first time I died in despair. In the second life, I wanted to save others, but after the zombie outbreak, intruders broke into my home. I was falsely accused by normally kind neighbors and ultimately attacked by an angry mob, with my entire family tragically beaten to death. When I woke up again, it was 1 month before the zombie outbreak. This time, I won't just wait for death. I suddenly opened my eyes, my chest still heaving rapidly. My entire body drenched in sweat. The clock on the wall pointed to 3 a.m. I'm back again. This is my second rebirth. On New Year's Eve 1 month later, zombies suddenly broke out, turning this place into a living hell. The first time, I had no idea what was about to happen. That day, my parents and older brother went out to buy more New Year's goods, leaving me alone at home. I cowered at home in fear, too terrified to go outside or contact anyone. Fortunately, we had stockpiled plenty of food at home, allowing me to barely survive for half a year before ultimately perishing from hunger, terror, and despair. When I woke up again, I found myself in the present. In my previous life, I had tried desperately to save others. I warned everyone about the impending disaster, urging them to stock up on food and reinforce their defenses, only to be dismissed as a fear-mongering lunatic. Back then, only my family believed me. We carried out our preparations under the judgmental stares of others. When the zombies arrived, our usually warm and friendly neighbor Aloan led the community in breaking into our home, stealing all the food supplies we had prepared. Originally, the others just wanted to steal the food, but Aloan shouted, "I can foresee this, I must be the one who brought the zombies." The illogical statement ignited everyone's anger. Our family of 4 died under the chaotic blows. I opened my eyes wide, watching these frenzied people, feeling so unwilling. It's only been a week since the zombie outbreak, right at the year's end. You shouldn't be short on food at all. All I wanted was to save you. Having lived through 2 lifetimes, I didn't die by the teeth of zombies, but by my own cowardice, at the hands of those I tried to save. I calmed myself and was about to go find my parents when, upon opening the door, I saw my brother standing outside. His face was pale, his forehead covered in sweat. "Isabella, have you returned too?" I immediately realized my brother also had memories from our past life. Sobbing, I threw myself into his arms. "Last time, I was too arrogant, not only useless but also brought harm to my family. Brother, it was my foolishness that led to your tragic deaths." He wiped away my tears and said, "You're just too kind. Isabella, don't be afraid. This time, your brother will face it with you. We will survive together." Our parents woke up from the commotion and stood at the bedroom door, looking at us in confusion. Mom was the first to speak. "What's wrong, Isabella? What happened to upset you?" My brother and I exchanged glances, then told them about our previous 2 lives. Just as I expected, they believed me without hesitation. With tears in her eyes, Mom hugged both me and my brother tightly. "My poor babies have suffered so much." Dad remained silent beside us, but I could feel his profound heartache. Once our emotions had calmed down, we began discussing countermeasures. We counted all the money at home, totaling 600,000, which we planned to use entirely for purchasing supplies. In my first life, I barely survived for half a year when zombies were still rampant, so this time we needed to stockpile at least a year's worth of food. Next was choosing a place to settle down. With the experience from our past life, we knew our current house was definitely unsafe. My brother did offer a suggestion. My brother had been working at a gas station since his vacation started. He mentioned that the gas station owner passed away last month. The owner had poor health, and once when my brother took him home, he discovered the owner lived in a very remote self-built house in the suburbs. It was 3 stories tall, appeared extremely sturdy from the outside, and most importantly, there was no one around, a perfect place to hide. Moreover, the old station master only has 1 grandson, who's said to be doing very well in the big city and would never come back. That place must be empty now. We all thought this location was ideal and immediately decided that Dad and I would go check it out tomorrow. I said, tomorrow we'll rent a car. During this period, we'll need to make large-scale purchases and transport everything ourselves. I don't trust others to deliver for us. If we buy too much when the zombie outbreak happens, we'll easily draw attention. My brother nodded in agreement. After thinking for a moment, he wrote down a few names on paper. When you go rent a car, look for these specific models. They're all extremely sturdy, have large capacity, and run on diesel. We'll also need to stockpile lots of diesel fuel. It has a long shelf life and can last for years. If this disaster drags on, we'll inevitably need to go out for supplies and opportunities later. Plus, diesel can generate electricity, so we can use freezers to preserve perishable food. I nodded. My brother was truly impressive. We quickly finalized our plan. Dad is a construction worker, while Mom takes on odd jobs, sometimes working as a nanny for other families. Now that work has stopped for the new year, they can focus fully on preparations. Tomorrow, Dad and I will first go rent a car, then look at houses. Mom will stay home to sort through usable items for the move. Meanwhile, my brother will still go to work at the gas station to inquire about bulk diesel purchases. That night my thoughts were chaotic, but I knew there would be much to do starting tomorrow. I forced myself to sleep for a while. When I woke up, I noticed both my parents and brother looked unwell. Apparently no one had slept properly. Mom still made breakfast as usual. Eat more, you'll all have a busy day ahead. My dad and I visited several car rental shops, and finally, as per my brother's request, we rented a diesel SUV. After bargaining with the owner for a long time, he agreed to let us rent it for 25 days and gave us 5 extra days for free. Even so, over 20,000 yuan was spent in an instant. I felt somewhat worried, as there were still many expenses ahead, and we needed to budget carefully with the 600,000 yuan. After that, we went to the old station master's house. As soon as we saw this place, we decided to make it our hideout, although this is a self-built house. You can tell at a glance that a lot of effort was put into it. While I don't know much about construction, my father took a quick look around and told me that the building quality here is excellent. He brought his own tools and with just a little work, the door lock was opened. The interior of the house has 3 floors. The first floor contains the living room, dining area, and kitchen. The second and third floors each have 3 bedrooms, providing quite spacious accommodation. There's also a small staircase leading to the rooftop, which features a small terrace. Most of the rooftop space is occupied by movable flower beds. It seems the old station master used to grow some vegetables up there. Additionally, several solar panels were installed, but they appear to be broken and haven't been repaired. The most surprising discovery was the basement. The entrance is next to the dining area and is quite narrow, but the basement itself is quite spacious. If we get a generator later, it could be placed in the basement to help reduce noise. Dad and I took inventory of the furniture inside. We kept the useful items like the refrigerator, beds, and the kitchen cooking area, which was connected to a gas cylinder. This worked out well since we just needed to stock up on extra gas cylinders for cooking. As for unnecessary appliances like the washing machine and TV, we loaded them into the car and sold them at a second-hand furniture store. In the end, we made a total of 20,000 yuan from the sales. It took us several trips back and forth to finally clean up the place. We left 2 beds in the 2 rooms on the second floor and 1 bed in a room on the third floor. The third floor room has a good view, so it's likely someone will need to keep watch there at night. I sketched a rough layout of the place and then headed home with Dad. Just parked downstairs when I saw our neighbor Aloan with her daughter Juniper. Aloan greeted me warmly as usual, but after driving all day and moving furniture for hours, I was exhausted. Combined with what Aloan did to my family in my past life, I couldn't muster any warmth and only responded coldly. She seemed oblivious and suddenly pointed at our car as if discovering something extraordinary. "Isabella, you bought a car." She clicked her tongue repeatedly. "This car looks so luxurious, must cost several 100,000. Oh my, how could you afford this?" Just then, my mom heard the commotion and came down to greet us. Seeing the 3 of us, Aloan exclaimed, "Oh dear, what a tragedy. Why do you all look so pale?" "Girl," I looked up and realized that after a long day and poor rest the night before, we did indeed appear utterly exhausted. In the past, if I'd heard Aloan say this, I would have thought she was showing concern, but now, I could clearly detect the schadenfreude in her tone. A thought crossed my mind, and without responding to her, I took my parents' hands and led them back inside. Once home, my mother gritted her teeth and said, "That venomous woman, who knew she could hide her true nature so well. If we hadn't agreed to keep a low profile, I'd be tempted to tear her mouth apart." I pulled my mom to sit on the sofa. "Mom, We're extremely short on funds right now, but I've come up with a great solution. Before long, my brother came back. After a quick meal, we started discussing how to renovate the old station master's house. First, we need to reinforce the windows with steel plates from the inside. Then we'll add 2 more layers of doors. The current locks aren't secure enough and need replacing. The solar panels on the roof should also be upgraded to new ones. I explained the situation with the basement. That entrance is very narrow. We could turn it into a hidden door. If intruders ever break in, this would be our last line of defense. Everyone agrees with my opinion. In addition, we need to install several shelves for storing ingredients. The flower beds upstairs can also be tidied up. If conditions permit, we could even grow some vegetables there, so we wouldn't always be consuming food supplies. If there's time left at the end, we'll build a side shed next to it for parking the car. We've listed the required construction materials. Tomorrow, my dad and I will go buy the supplies, and then we can start the construction. We estimated the costs of materials would be around $40,000, and after accounting for selling second-hand furniture and car rentals, we still have $560,000 left. Dad rubbed his hands together. Starting tomorrow, I'll be living there. I'll work overtime if needed, but I'll definitely finish it. You just need to deliver the materials and bring me meals daily. My brother quit his gas station job. Today I found out where to buy diesel. The current station manager's friend's company purchased large quantities from the oil company. We can buy some from them, though at a higher price. Buying directly from the oil company would require many permits we don't have. Tomorrow I'll handle this, then we can transport it ourselves. I nodded and shared Mom's and my plan with them. Making sure we all had the same story, early the next morning, I set off with my dad. This was usually the time Aloan would go out to buy groceries, and sure enough, we ran into her in the hallway right after going downstairs. "Corbin, Isabella, you're heading out so early." "Yeah, Aloan," I replied coldly on purpose. True to form, she continued prying. "What are you going out so early for?" "Taking my dad to work at the construction site." "Oh come on, it's the New Year break." No construction sites are operating now. There's one site in the neighboring city rushing their project. My dad went there. It's almost New Year. "Isn't Corbin taking a break?" My dad sighed and pretended to reluctantly say, "A friend urgently needs help hiring, so I'm just going to lend a hand." I didn't speak, but my eyes turned red. We went downstairs, and shortly after getting in the car, we received a text from my mom. "Your Aloan is here." Humph. That wretched woman must have stuck to us like a fly when she saw something interesting happening at our place. We went to the largest building materials market in the city. However, our renovation requires a large quantity of materials, and that SUV couldn't hold everything. We've agreed to purchase the materials needed for each week separately, making multiple trips to transport them ourselves. I dropped Dad off, and my brother called to say he'd bought diesel and borrowed a vehicle to deliver it, telling me not to worry. I immediately headed to the food market and began shopping frantically. I bought 100 bags of 10-pound long storage rice, 100 boxes of dried noodles, and a large quantity of canned fish and beef in the canned food section, quickly spending 30,000 yuan. By the time I delivered the supplies to the house, my brother had already arrived, and the diesel fuel was also purchased. Costing 20,000 yuan, I brought some food over, and after we ate, my brother and I went to the water station. I bought 200 cases of mineral water, spending 10,000 yuan. Fortunately, my brother had borrowed a car, so we barely managed to transport all the water. By the time we got back in the evening, we were completely exhausted. Mom had cooked dinner at home and told me about today's situation. I told her about your brother taking out a loan shark to buy a car, and now even after selling the car he still can't repay it. When I hinted at selling the house at a low price, she showed immediate interest. I let out a cold laugh. I never understood why Aloan harbored such malice toward us in our previous life, but yesterday it became clear to me. She simply resents others for living better lives. Both my brother and I got into top universities, while Juniper only went to a second-tier college. She used to say she envied us, but would always sourly remark that studying wasn't that useful anyway. My father is honest and dutiful, though he doesn't earn much. He dedicates everything to our family. Aloan's husband, on the other hand, just loves gambling and drinking, completely neglecting household matters, yet she often makes snide remarks about my dad being unambitious, even among neighbors. She thinks our house is more spacious, with better lighting and nicer decor than theirs. Every time she mentions it, her eyes reveal intense envy and fascination. Actually, we all live in the same neighborhood, just next door, so how much difference can there be? She just loves to compare, and the more she compares, the more twisted her mindset becomes. Suddenly, we got a new car, and in her eyes, my dad rushed out to work during the new year to pay off debts. I just want her to think our family has hit rock bottom, so she'll feel like she can take advantage of a big bargain soon. Mom, just tell her we want to sell our house for 500,000. The current market price for this house is at least 600,000, so 500,000 is already much lower, but I'm sure Aloan will still try to haggle, no matter how much she bargains. Sell it for 400,000 if she offers that. The only condition is we need the money immediately. Tell her we'll definitely move out before the new year and go live in our rural hometown. If she wants to transfer the property, just cooperate with her. Mom nodded and said, "All right, I'll listen to you." In the following days, my brother and I were busy with purchases. We bought 4 large freezers and 4 medium-sized generators, all placed in the basement. Worried about equipment failure, we stocked up on basic spare parts for repairs. Thanks to my brother's background in automation, fixing common electrical issues wasn't a problem. We went to the livestock market and bought large quantities of beef, pork, lamb, etc., all portioned and frozen in the freezers. As a medical student, I also prepared a list of common household medications, cold medicine, fever reducers, diarrhea treatments, vitamin tablets, disinfectants, etc., all purchased and ready. We also went to the outdoor store and bought solar-powered lights, kerosene lamps, and a portable water purifier. I remember there was a period of extreme cold in the first life, so I bought 4 down sleeping bags as well, if we need to go out later to search for supplies. The sleeping bags will come in handy. Thinking ahead, I purchased high-performance outdoor jackets, hiking backpacks, and trekking shoes for our family of 4. Half a month had passed by the time we finished all these preparations. When we returned in the evening, Mom told me that Aloan had taken the bait and offered 450,000 to buy our house. She said she could pay us in cash but also demanded immediate transfer of ownership. Mom agreed and brought back a purchase contract for us to review. If everything looks good, we'll sign it, and the payment and property transfer can be completed tomorrow. My brother and I looked over the contract and didn't see any major issues. The compensation amount for breach of contract was very high, but we didn't have time to go through it with her in detail, so we agreed to sign it. The property deed was already in our mother's name anyway, so we let her handle everything regarding this matter. The next day, my brother and I went to stock up on instant food products like instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, and shelf-stable milk. These items were rare delicacies at that time. I also bought large quantities of compressed biscuits and instant oatmeal, all things that were easy to carry. In the afternoon, we ordered 20 gas cylinders. I also bought some small gas canisters and portable stoves, which should solve our cooking problems if we needed to last longer. We'd have to think of other solutions. I only bought 2 weeks' worth of fresh vegetables and fruits, but to ensure we wouldn't suffer from vitamin deficiency, I also purchased large amounts of frozen vegetables and fruits to store in the freezer. Passing by the ice cream shop, I couldn't resist and wholesale purchased a large box of ice cream. Since then, our freezer has been packed to the brim. As I finished up and prepared to head home, a sudden sense of foreboding came over me. So I urged my brother to drive faster and hurry back. Upon returning, we found my mom pushed to the ground at the doorstep, with the house in complete disarray. Aloan was arrogantly shouting in my house, "This is already my home now. Get out immediately. If you don't leave, I'll call the police." I was furious and rushed over to help my mother up. "Mom, what's going on?" my mother cried and said. I had agreed with her that we would definitely move out 1 week before the new year. But as soon as the transfer was completed today, she immediately went back on her word and insisted we leave right away. My mother had been pushed, spraining her ankle, and now she was frowning in pain as she tried to stand. Aloan looked triumphant. "Your family really has no moral integrity, borrowing from loan sharks until you lost your house." My brother looked at our mother's swollen ankle, rushed over and grabbed Aloan by the collar, saying fiercely, "We'll give you the house and move out tomorrow. You've hurt my mom like this. Aren't you afraid that someone like me, who deals with loan sharks, will spend the rest of my life watching you and your entire family?" My brother's eyes were full of menace, and Aloan shuddered. "Let me go. I'll leave right now." My brother threw her to the ground. She stood up, dusted herself off, and said, "I'll come for the house first thing tomorrow morning. I'm giving you a little extra time, so don't try to overstay your welcome." With that, she quickly scurried away. Juniper followed her mother out, but before leaving, she gloated, "Isabella, your family's moving to the countryside. I've finally outdone you." My brother rushed over and pushed her out the door. "You're insane. Who the hell is comparing with you?" With that, he slammed the door shut with great force. I helped my mom onto the bed and checked her ankle. "It shouldn't be too serious. A few days of rest and she'll be fine." Wiping her tears, she suddenly laughed and handed me the bank card. "Isabella, for 50,000. Go ahead with your plans without worry." I finally couldn't hold back my tears. This is just how my parents are. They might not say sweet words, but they always gave their all to support us, always trusting us unconditionally. My brother came over and hugged me and my mom, saying, "Don't worry, I won't let them get away with this." Over the past few days, my mom had already inventoried our belongings. We'd moved quite a few usable items, leaving only old clothes and daily necessities behind. I looked around, packed a few things to take with me, and decided to let them do whatever they wanted with the rest. But I couldn't bear the thought of them benefiting from this. I ended up ruining all the appliances and food by pouring water into them, and cut up the bedding and other fabrics. I'd rather waste these things than let that family have them. After finishing this, I went to sleep. When I woke up in the middle of the night, I saw my brother had set up a ladder in my room. He seemed to be working on something near the ceiling, half asleep. I couldn't tell if it was a dream or reality, and soon fell back asleep. The next day I asked my brother, but he said I must have dreamed it. I checked the ceiling but found nothing unusual, so I didn't think much of it. None of us wanted to run into Alone again, so we set off before dawn. Time was running short, but the house renovations weren't finished yet, so we discussed dividing the work again. Mom's foot is injured now, so she's resting at home. My brother stayed behind to work with Dad. Between the two of them, they should be able to finish the carport. I continued handling the procurement work. Actually, there wasn't much money left before, but now with an extra $450,000, I've stocked up on some canned food and water. I also bought some building materials to store in the garage, making repairs easier if anything gets damaged. With spare money now, I purchased books, board games, ping pong equipment, a treadmill, and other sports gear. Over time, without any entertainment facilities, psychological issues can easily arise. I also bought an outdoor camera and a monitor, planning to install them on the rooftop to monitor the surroundings. This camera has an automatic alarm feature. It will alert us immediately if any living creature moves nearby. This will be quite useful, at least in the early stages before the power goes out. I also bought new phones and tablets for all of us. Since we have a generator and solar panels, these low-power devices can be put to good use. As I was preparing to head back, I passed by a dog meat restaurant. A strong, fishy smell wafted out, and at the entrance stood a massive iron cage, covered in bloodstains, with a German Shepherd locked inside. The German Shepherd didn't look very old. Its size was only about half that of an adult. It was huddled in a corner, trembling, but when it saw me, it suddenly pressed against the bars and let out a helpless whimper. Hearing the noise, the shop owner came over to check and cursed viciously again. The German Shepherd quickly retreated. Seeing my interest, the owner said, "Little girl, want some dog meat? This is a purebred German Shepherd. Look at how fine its features are." "No thanks." I walked toward my car without looking back, but after a moment, I couldn't bear it and turned around. "Boss, how much for this dog?" After 20 minutes of bargaining, I ended up leading the dog away. I sighed. "You're lucky I have some extra money right now." His eyes darted around looking at me, and finally he nuzzled my calf before following me. I originally thought my parents would scold me for bringing the German Shepherd home, since future circumstances are uncertain and an extra dog means more expenses. To my surprise, they accepted it very calmly, saying, "At a time like this, if you could bring it home, it must be fate. Perhaps heaven's arrangement." Soon, they grew fond of it too. We discussed naming it but couldn't think of anything suitable until my brother finally said, "Stop overthinking it, just call it German Shepherd." My brother really knows how to take the easy way out. After getting the German Shepherd, we decided to stock up on more supplies. The next day, my brother took me and the German Shepherd out. I took the German Shepherd to the vet for a full checkup, got all the necessary shots, and stocked up on common pet medications. My brother and I split up. He went to buy dog food, canned food, a dog crate, and other supplies for the German Shepherd. Surprisingly, he also brought back a few bows and arrows, along with some tools and materials I couldn't recognize. "With bows and arrows, we can defend against not just zombies but also people," he said while tidying up his things. "There's only 1 week left until New Year's Eve, and our preparations are almost complete, so we're all hunkered down in our new home, getting used to our new life here." The entire house renovation is finished. With my brother's help, not only was the garage built, but we also added a fireplace. The house originally had a chimney. We were concerned that in case of extreme weather, having a fireplace would provide warmth, and if the gas tank runs out, it could also be used for cooking. In the remaining time, I occasionally scrolled through my phone, downloaded many movies, TV shows, ebooks, and various games on my tablet. And whenever I had free time, I took the German Shepherd out for walks to familiarize myself with the surrounding terrain. My brother practiced archery diligently, or else tinkered with his tools. Before long, he actually managed to make a crossbow. Dad inspected the house every day, checking which areas needed reinforcement. Mom also researched how to cook meals that would keep everyone well fed while maximizing the use of available resources. Sometimes she would also show me Alohan's social media posts, which were full of boastful content, often taking passive-aggressive jabs at our family. I don't care as much now. I just want our family to be happy together. We are all silently waiting for that day to come. Just like before, news alerts kept popping up on the phone. Multiple locations reported humans with bluish-purple complexions exhibiting extreme aggression. These humans seemed to have lost consciousness and the ability to feel pain. This was just the beginning. The media would still call them humans. Soon, as early as tomorrow, they would be called zombies. My brother and I ran up to the third floor, observing the surroundings while he occasionally checked his phone. In the current situation, most people who saw the news would just quietly retreat home, waiting for the chaos to subside. Moreover, this place is extremely remote. No people, no zombies. Mom and Dad are both downstairs cooking, and we can already smell the delicious aroma of food before even going down. Most of the furniture here has been moved out by us, leaving only a square table in the dining room, now fully laden with delicious dishes. Just then, Dad brought up a pot of boiled fish and placed it steadily at the center. Mom's voice came from the kitchen. "You guys start eating first. I'll join you after I get my 8 treasure porridge stewing." My brother is helping set the tableware. Since we don't have a TV here, I searched on the tablet for a while and found that the Spring Festival Gala is still being broadcast as usual, though it feels particularly lonely coming from such a small screen. Yet when the whole family sat together neatly to start the New Year's Eve dinner, the atmosphere still became lively. The German Shepherd also squatted beside its bowl, and Mom gave it a big chicken drumstick. "It's New Year's today, so you get a special treat too." The German Shepherd instantly got excited, jumping around and wagging its tail wildly. We all laughed at its silly antics. I also prepared some low-alcohol wine. Even Mom, who never drinks, tried a little and exclaimed in surprise. I always thought alcohol was bitter and spicy, but this one is sweet and delicious. Midway through the meal, I actually heard fireworks, something I hadn't noticed in my first life. Back then, I was only frantically calling my parents, completely oblivious to how the outside world had progressed. Looking back now, the situation on New Year's Eve wasn't that bad after all. We all ran to the rooftop terrace to watch the fireworks. The display was in the city center, and from our vantage point, we could only see a tiny flickering. But soon, even that flickering dot disappeared. My phone started buzzing with news alerts again. I clicked on the video to see chaotic crowds in the park, with the reporter announcing, Donghu Park, where the fireworks festival was being held, has suddenly been attacked by extremely aggressive individuals whose characteristics closely resemble those involved in similar incidents worldwide. We were originally bringing you this live coverage, then the footage showed fleeing crowds, with several zombies frantically biting people. Some who had fallen bleeding to the ground were getting back up in grotesquely twisted postures. In the first life, it was just like this. Those attacked would typically turn into zombies within 5 to 10 minutes. Back then, I witnessed from the balcony how familiar neighbors around me became bloodied and struggled in agony. That's why in my previous life, I was so desperate to save others. I don't want to recall what happened next. Turning my head, I saw my parents' faces had turned pale. Perhaps only at this moment did they truly understand what I meant by zombies. My brother patted my shoulder and said, "Let's go back. We should check all the doors and windows, and secure everything that needs to be locked." We barricaded the iron gate on the terrace. At the time, fearing someone might break in from above, we installed 3 additional doors here. After making sure all the doors and windows were securely locked, we returned to the table, but by then, no one had any appetite left to continue eating. My brother, who after all had memories from his previous life, appeared much calmer. "Eat a bit more," he said. "It's a shame to waste such a lavish meal. Let's rest well tonight. Things are only going to get tougher from here, and we'll need to stay sharp." We all knew he was right, so we forced ourselves to eat a little more before retiring to our rooms to rest. That night, no one wanted to sleep alone. In the end, the German Shepherd slept on his dog bed downstairs, while my brother stayed with Dad, and I shared a room with Mom in adjacent bedrooms on the second floor. Around 4 or 5 in the morning, Mom's phone rang. Checking the caller ID, it turned out to be Alohan. Mom and I exchanged glances, unsure of her intentions, but since Alohan is full of tricky ideas, it's best to avoid contact. I took the phone and hung up on her. Soon enough, the second call came through. It seemed she wouldn't give up until we answered, so I pressed accept. Alohan's panicked voice came through the phone. "Callista, how are you guys doing?" My mother said coldly. "What do you want?" She lowered her voice. "This virus is terrifying. So many people in our building have been infected. They're wandering around the hallways now." Seeing that none of us responded, she continued, "I checked, and it's still in town where people are too densely packed and easily infected. Didn't you go to the countryside? How are things there? I gave my mother a look, and she immediately caught on, pretending not to understand. I don't know what you're talking about. What virus? Her voice brightened with joy. Seems like nothing's happening in the countryside. Oh, Callista, since our families are so close, we thought we'd come visit you in the countryside. This Aloan, after all the trouble she caused with us before, now wants to come crawling back. How shameless. I snatched the phone. Aloan, we dare not associate with you anymore. Who knows when you might drive us away again. She gave an awkward laugh. Isabella, let's not bring up the past. They say a near neighbor is better than a distant relative. We should support each other. I let out a cold laugh. Even if we were willing to take you in, how would you get here? Hearing this, she mistakenly thought I was relenting. Didn't your family take out a loan to buy a new car? I saw you driving before. You're good at it. Why don't you come pick me up? Aloan, you said yourself how terrifying that virus is. How could I dare to go out recklessly? It's fine. You young people have strong constitutions. No need to be afraid. This woman is utterly selfish. Aloan, it's perfectly safe here. You can come if you want, but let me tell you, you're already so old. You might as well just stay home and wait to die. After saying that, I hung up. Aloan kept frantically calling. So I blocked her. Then she started messaging my mom and sending me abusive texts on WeChat. I simply turned on Do Not Disturb. I didn't delete her outright because I still wanted to see the drama unfold. With all the commotion Aloan caused, I couldn't sleep anymore. So I got up with my mom to make breakfast. She cooked a thick, hearty rice porridge, while I steamed a basket of dumplings and dug out some salted duck eggs. A simple yet delicious breakfast was ready. After dinner, my brother and I curled up on the sofa playing games for a while, and when we got tired, we dozed off on the couch. Nothing particularly eventful happened all day, and we went to bed early again in the evening. Until midnight, I heard something hitting a metal plate. I listened carefully and realized the sound was coming from the first floor window. I immediately snapped awake and tiptoed to the third floor to wake up my brother. All our windows are sealed with steel plates, and opening them would inevitably make a lot of noise. If it's a zombie, that would only draw its attention. For now, we can't really see what's going on. After some thought, I turned on the monitor and rewound 10 minutes. In the night vision mode, I could see a tall zombie staggering around the area. Actually, he wasn't initially interested in our house, but something later hit the window, and that's when he came over. From this perspective, zombies seem to be primarily very sensitive to sound. I'm not too worried. Our house has excellent soundproofing. As long as we don't make too much noise inside, nothing can be heard from outside. My older brother said, we can't let him stay here. It's too quiet in this area, and he might attract other zombies. I realized he was right. So what should we do now? My brother pulled out his crossbow from under the bed and leaned against the window. That's when I noticed the third floor window had always been left slightly ajar. My brother turned back and explained, this makes it easier to hear what's happening outside. I said helplessly, but when he knocked earlier, it was me who woke you up. He leaned the crossbow against the small crack, pulled the trigger, and I heard the sound of the sharp arrow cutting through the air, followed by the impact of the arrow hitting the stone. However, the sound was too faint. The knocking downstairs only paused briefly before resuming. The zombie wasn't lured away. My brother then tied some scrap metal to the arrow, and this time the noise finally drew it away. But from the surveillance footage, we can see he's still lingering nearby. My parents came upstairs at this point, and after discussing, we decided it still needed to be killed, but it's nighttime now and visibility is poor, so we should wait until daylight to make a plan. Dad told us to sleep first. He would keep watch tonight and alert us if the zombie came back. I slept restlessly all night and woke up as soon as dawn broke. At this moment, there were 2 more zombies around, but they were just aimlessly wandering nearby. My brother and I both ran to the rooftop. He set up his bow, and we chose a zombie that was farther from its companions. The first few shots missed, either hitting the zombie's legs or chest. I realized these spots caused minimal damage. They only angered it without hindering its movement, but soon he spotted us. The zombie's intelligence seemed low, yet its speed was astonishing as it swiftly charged toward our direction. The other 2 zombies seemed to notice as well, turning their gaze toward us. My heart pounded like a drum until I saw an arrow strike its forehead directly, with a hoarse roar. It struggled briefly before collapsing slowly. I instantly felt relieved, only then realizing my back was drenched in sweat. My brother muttered, looks like a headshot is the only way. A few more days passed, with scattered zombies coming occasionally. Our initial fear turned into calmness, and we basically eliminated all the approaching zombies. The turning point came on this day. Aloan kept cursing at us for days, but when she realized we were ignoring her, she started speaking meekly again, trying to get us to reveal our location to her. After being ignored for several consecutive days, she finally exploded. We had just finished lunch, and I was about to browse the news when I saw continuous WeChat notifications. I clicked in and saw it was the old neighborhood property management group chat. Although we had moved away, we hadn't left the group. Aloan was spamming the chat, mainly accusing our family of living in a very safe place while disregarding others' lives, calling our behavior extremely selfish and despicable. She sent over a dozen messages in a row, all cursing and condemning our entire family. As for the other neighbors, upon hearing there might be a safe place now, they couldn't wait for me to reveal the exact location, fanning the flames and joining in the accusations against us. Only a few families spoke up, saying that even if there was a safe place, everyone rushing there en masse would attract zombies. They advised people to focus on protecting themselves first and not to pressure others. But such voices were quickly drowned out by the curses of others. Most claimed these families must have abundant supplies themselves, hence their lack of urgency. Some even made threatening remarks about coming to their doors to demand resources. Reading the lengthy tirades, I couldn't help but sneer. Aloan's tactics were just this. Nothing more than trying to use public pressure to make us buckle under moral condemnation and reveal our location, exactly the same as the previous life. It's only been a week. There shouldn't be any household without supplies. Now everyone just wants to leech off others. Thinking back, the reason I survived so long in the first life was probably because I kept too quiet alone. Some people saw my parents and brother going out to shop together and must have assumed our house was empty, which spared us. As for Aloan, I wasn't even going to bother with her, but since she's asking for trouble, she can't blame me. Aloan. I never said this place was safe. On the contrary, the rural house is old, and we fear zombies breaking in daily. Besides, Aloan, when we sold you the house cheaply, you rushed us out overnight. We left behind many New Year supplies we'd bought, plus your own stockpiles. Your family should have plenty. Why abandon a relatively safe home to incite everyone to flee to the countryside? Are you waiting for neighbors to leave so you can loot what they can't take, with zombies everywhere? Have you considered the safety of others by urging them to run out? As soon as my words were spoken, the group fell silent. I believe those words must have hit like a bomb dropped into deep water, surely stirring up intense psychological reactions among them. At that moment, my brother came over and pointed at the group chat interface, asking me what was going on. I then explained the whole story about how Aloan had called earlier wanting to join us, and proceeded to curse her vehemently. My brother patted my head and said, "Isabella, let me show you something good." He then opened an app, and to my surprise, I saw our original home. Inside, Aloan stomped her feet angrily in the living room, cursing at her phone before ultimately succumbing to helpless rage. I was shocked. "Bro, when did you install this?" "The night we were kicked out," he said. At that moment, I realized our whole family had already suffered because of her once. And now in this life we were still being bullied by her, so I decided I had to keep her under close watch to feel at ease. Moreover, I've prepared a little surprise. Isabella, the suffering we endured in our past life, I'll make sure it's returned in full. Now I've developed a new hobby, observing Aloan's family from time to time. After that day, Aloan kept talking in the group chat, accusing me of talking nonsense. I didn't respond anymore. She didn't realize how her increasing words only made her look more suspicious. Aloan's family isn't lacking food or drink now, but their internal conflicts quickly became apparent. The zombie outbreak hasn't been contained. Instead, it's intensifying. The dwindling supplies are only amplifying people's fear during this time. Every time it's mealtime, Aloan would scold Juniper for being useless. Unlike our family where my brother rarely does something that bankrupts us, yet somehow going to the countryside made him safer. After berating Juniper, she'd start yelling at her husband, saying he's lazy and gluttonous at home, just wasting food. I originally treated it as a joke until today when Juniper suddenly said after her mom finished scolding us, "Mom, they live in the countryside, so the car they bought must be parked outside." Did you know there are real-time maps now? Their car is quite luxurious, white in color, and very eye-catching. As long as we know their approximate location, we can definitely find them. I cursed silently in my heart, wondering why this family kept targeting us. Fortunately, we had built a carport back then, and they didn't know our location. But this incident still gave me a strong sense of crisis. If they could think this way, surely others would too. I told my brother about this, and he shared the same concerns as me. For our current house, we're actually not afraid of zombies or people. What we fear most is if someone comes with tools, then breaking down our door would just be a matter of time. After much thought, the most ironic thing is that if there were zombies around, we might actually be safer. I checked the calendar. It's been 1 week since the zombie outbreak began. According to my memories from the first timeline, the power will go out in another 4 days. Before that happens, we need to set up some small traps in the surrounding area. I started tinkering with my brother's various gadgets, making several solar-powered remote-controlled alarms. We plan to install them nearby to lure zombies around us, forming a zombie barricade. We still need a lightweight tool, otherwise, relying on human legs alone, we'd never outrun the zombies. Are we supposed to start practicing running today? My brother, that exercise bike you bought downstairs, I modified it into a bicycle. Great job, my bro, you're amazing. Early the next morning, we began our operation. My brother would find taller trees at our predetermined locations to hang the devices, while I observed the terrain and surroundings from the rooftop. Our parents guarded the entrance downstairs. Throughout the entire process, we maintained communication via Bluetooth headsets. Initially, everything went smoothly. My brother successfully hung alarms on 8 sturdy trees in the vicinity. When it came to the last one, a zombie suddenly appeared out of nowhere and ran towards my brother's position. I quickly informed my brother about the situation. Fortunately, he had already found the target tree, set up the alarm, and was now in a high position that was relatively safe. Seeing that it couldn't reach my brother, the zombie started hammering at the tree. Watching the branches shake violently, this zombie had astonishing strength. It wouldn't be long before either my brother would be shaken off or the tree would snap. I took out the crossbow and fired several shots at the zombie, but since I had barely used it before, my aim was terrible. Not only did I fail to hit the zombie, but I was also worried that I might accidentally shoot my brother, which would be disastrous. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead, and suddenly, an idea came to me. Brother, when I count to 3, I'll activate the alarm farthest from your position. It might attract a large number of zombies. Once the zombies below leave, you must rush over as fast as you can. Mom and Dad, open the door first, and as soon as brother comes in, close it immediately. Okay, got it, they all replied. 3, 2, 1, a piercing alarm sounded, cutting through the surroundings. Sure enough, I could see the distant bushes starting to shake, behind the dense foliage. It was impossible to tell exactly how many zombies there were, but what frightened me even more was that the zombies near my brother didn't seem to be drawn away by the noise. They seemed to trust visual information more than auditory cues. What should we do now? At the very least, I'll distract him from the rooftop to buy some time for my brother, otherwise, the tree will really break. Suddenly, my parents' shouts came through the headphones. German Shepherd, come back now, startled. I looked downstairs and saw the German Shepherd had run out. It was sprinting toward my brother at an incredible speed I never knew it could reach. The zombie spotted the German Shepherd charging towards it and immediately shifted its attention, beginning to chase the dog. Meanwhile, the German Shepherd sprinted wildly in another direction. Seizing this opportunity, the older brother quickly jumped down from the tree, hopped on his bicycle, and rode towards home. German Shepherd, follow me. The brother shouted loudly. The German Shepherd seemed to understand too, quickly turning around and sprinting back home as well. First, my brother returned, and soon the German Shepherd's figure could be seen, with zombies closely chasing behind it. At such close distance, we had no time to close the door. Hurry, German Shepherd, run faster, I shouted. The German Shepherd was even faster now, and I finally saw both him and the zombies rushing downstairs, from above. I couldn't clearly see the situation at the main gate. My heart was pounding wildly as I propped myself up to go downstairs. Just then, Dad's voice came through the headset. Isabella, the German Shepherd is back. The zombies are locked outside. We're safe. I let out a long sigh of relief and collapsed onto the floor. The German Shepherd instantly became our great hero. Holding him, I couldn't help but shed tears. He nuzzled his head against my face in return. I only brought you back by chance. Yet you actually saved my brother. You must be the guardian angel sent to me by heaven. After this incident, I also realized the potential of German Shepherds. The zombies couldn't even outrun a juvenile German Shepherd. We must train them well. You're going to play a major role in the future. After setting up traps around the area, the next step was to deal with Aloan and her group. I thought it would take a lot of effort, but my brother just casually mentioned, I changed the password for our front door a couple of days ago. If that family dares to step out, they won't be able to get back in. All right, my brother always silently plays the king bomb without a word, but the reality is even harsher than we imagined. Soon it came to the day of the power outage in the previous life. Before this, the water had already been cut off. But because I was worried about water pollution caused by the zombie outbreak, our family hadn't used tap water since the zombies appeared, relying only on the water we had stored earlier. Moreover, the old station master had previously installed a large water vat in the kitchen. We made some modifications, enlarging the vat and connecting a pipe to the rooftop. If needed later, we could open the pipe to channel rainwater collected from the roof into this vat. So water cuts aren't a big issue for us, but for most families, just a few days without water is enough to cause massive panic, including for Alohan's household. Chaos has erupted outside now. Everyone realizes that once water and power are cut off, they won't be restored, so after the water was cut, Alohan's family has been actively collecting rainwater. She also plans to go out and scavenge supplies before people start looting, to gain an early advantage. She's actually quite sharp-minded. Knowing that many residents on the first and second floors have already fallen victim to the zombies, there should be many empty apartments on those floors now, stocked with plenty of food. Later, she rallied the able-bodied young adults in the group chat to clear out the zombies together, using large furniture to block the building's main entrance and ensure basic safety within the apartment complex. Everyone is on edge now, and they know that self-rescue is the only option at the moment. So many people have responded. I don't know the specific details, but judging from the group discussions, they should have succeeded. Time has come to the present. I know there will be a power outage today, but I've forgotten the exact time. We might not be able to see Alohan's situation later, so our whole family is intently watching their status. Alohan's family is discussing. With Alohan analyzing the situations of the 6 households on the first and second floors one by one, which family might have more stored food, which household has spare keys at the door, and which door was already broken to begin with. The family of 3 also took turns assigning which household each would search, shouldering their backpacks and carrying handy weapons. My heart tightened. They were about to leave the house. The door opened, with Alohan going out first, followed by Juniper. Just then, something utterly unexpected happened. Alohan's husband suddenly slammed the door shut with force, then locked it from inside, trembling as he said, "I'm scared. You all go ahead. I'll open the door when you return from searching." Before anyone outside could respond, he added, "Don't make any noise out there, or you might attract the zombies." Outside fell silent. Our family exchanged glances, never expecting Alohan's husband to be so cowardly before. I only saw Alohan's cruelty and greed, but in truth, this man hiding behind her is the most despicable one. But this move actually indirectly saved Alohan's family. If they had all gone out, they would never have been able to get back in soon. Whether it had alerted the zombies lingering outside the apartment building or not, the monitor picked up frantic knocking, and Alohan cried out in panic, "Ezra, open the door quickly." Alohan's husband, however, just crouched by the door, trembling. Seeing this, her brother said firmly, "He won't open it." "Why? Alohan and the others are his family. They went out to find food for the household," I exclaimed in shock. He must be thinking that the supplies at home won't last long for 3 people, but he alone could survive for much longer. Besides, after what happened today, he's bound to be targeted by Alohan and her daughter. Juniper's desperate cries could be heard. "Dad, please open the door. I'm begging you." I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. Is this the ugliest side of human nature? At this moment, I actually felt a slight pity for Alohan and her daughter in my heart. Deep down, I also hoped that human nature wasn't like this, that Alohan's husband would ultimately open the door, yet he actually ran to the sofa, pulled out a blanket, and covered his head as if this would make the pleading outside the door disappear. The group chat was flooded with messages, all urging Ezra to open the door quickly, while zombies were frantically attacking the flimsy defenses downstairs. My heart clenched, wanting to know what had happened to Alohan and her daughter, but at this very moment, the power went out. We sat in silence for a long time in the dark living room. I hate the Alohan family, but I despise the darkness of human nature even more. Tossing and turning in bed, I couldn't sleep, with the scenes from tonight replaying in my mind. Perhaps it was a mother-daughter connection, but Mom unexpectedly came to my room. Without saying much, she just held me tightly, gently patting my back like she did when I was little. Gradually calming down in my mother's embrace, I realized that no matter what, the bond between our family members is the most precious. With this thought, I slowly drifted off to sleep. This incident left me depressed for several days. Eventually, my dad couldn't stand it anymore and told me to spend time with the German Shepherd. He's full of energy right now. If you don't play with him, he'll start destroying the house. I also wanted to shift my focus, so I began teaching him some simple commands. True to its reputation as a highly intelligent breed, the German Shepherd quickly learned many commands. Gradually, I started joining him in physical training exercises. Sometimes I let him run on the treadmill to improve his speed, and sometimes I run myself while he obediently lies beside me watching me exercise. When I'm tired, I take out my iPad to watch movies, and surprisingly, he leans against me to watch together. Soon winter arrived, and perhaps due to the anomalies, this year's winter was exceptionally cold. By this time, we had completely lost contact with the outside world, but judging by the number of zombies around, the situation hadn't improved. Instead, it had become more severe. Our resources are starting to run low. The generator downstairs has also started working, and fortunately, it allows us to still use cameras to monitor the surroundings. During the hot weather, we used to power a few freezers, but now that it's cold and the outdoor temperature has already dropped below zero, Dad built a small shed about half a person's height on the rooftop and moved most of the meat outdoors. We only kept one freezer in operation. We no longer use lights during the day, only lighting candles when absolutely necessary at night. When there's sufficient sunlight during the day, we use solar panels to charge our phones and tablets, but now people hardly use electronic devices anymore. My leisure activities have gradually shifted from staring at my phone to reading books. I've also accumulated many books, ranging from my medical school textbooks to various world novels, philosophy, the Book of Songs, and more. When the weather is nice, I lean by the window to read, disconnecting from the constant stream of outside information. This makes me exceptionally calm, and reading becomes truly enjoyable. Dad inspects the house daily, organizing and inventorying our supplies, and immediately repairs anything amiss. When less busy, he tends to his small rooftop garden. Recently, he actually grew fresh tomatoes and oranges. When we tasted fresh fruits and vegetables for the first time in so long, I never realized how delicious they could be. It nearly brought me to tears. My brother is the most versatile in the family. Sometimes he helps Mom cook, other times he assists Dad with house repairs. He exercises daily and then tinkers with his various little inventions. At first he often made useful things, but later, perhaps out of boredom, he suddenly created an electric shock pen. Yes, the kind of prank even elementary school kids now consider outdated. He used it to trick me and our parents, and in the end, only our gullible dad fell for it. The German Shepherd would exercise with my brother too. Now the dog has grown quite large, seemingly with endless energy to burn. Whenever he sees my brother working out, he runs to the treadmill himself. It's now his favorite toy. I can hardly believe this once timid little puppy has become so majestic. One day when it pounced on me like before, I actually got knocked over. But German Shepherds are really smart. Maybe realizing this could hurt me, it never did it again. Since then, it just circles around me, nudging my leg with its head, begging for pets. Mom still cooks delicious meals every day, just like before. She loves experimenting with fun ideas in the kitchen, using limited tools and equipment to make sure we eat well. That day, she actually managed to bake a cake, which instantly caught my interest. I dug out a big pack of tea and coffee that came as a freebie with snacks, found some milk, and made warm milk tea and latte. Tonight feels unusually cold. Dad and my brother, lured by the aroma, rummaged through the piled-up cardboard boxes, saying they wanted to use the fireplace we'd worked so hard to build. Our family gathered around the fireplace, eating delicious cake and sipping warm coffee and milk tea, when suddenly I felt unafraid of whatever the future might bring. My brother set the mood by announcing he'd tell ghost stories. After just 2 sentences, he scared Dad half to death. I never expected our usually strong-willed and upright father to be so easily frightened. As we chatted, my stomach suddenly growled. This fireplace is so lively, it'd be perfect for cooking instant noodles. My brother immediately agreed. I'll take a pack too. Mom grumbled a couple of words. You guys just love eating this junk food, then added, today I'm going to have a pack too. Dad laughed happily. I'll go get it. Let's have a fun meal tonight. I'll even add sausages for you. After taking 2 steps, as if remembering the ghost story, he turned back and called for Big Brother. Come with me. Mom and I watched as Big Brother reluctantly followed, and we both burst into laughter. Soon the room was filled with the aroma of instant noodles. They always taste especially delicious when eaten at night. After eating and drinking our fill, we were exhausted and went back to our room to sleep contentedly. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by the German Shepherd nudging me, and I immediately realized something was happening around us. The German Shepherd is extremely alert and intuitive. It seems to understand that loud noises could attract danger. Whenever it detects anything unusual, it would come over and nudge me in a special way, never barking. Several times when zombies approached our home, it would come to alert us. We would then be extra cautious and activate the surrounding alarms to lure the zombies away. I immediately went to check the surveillance footage, but found nothing unusual. Just as I was about to leave, the German Shepherd started rubbing against me again, and I realized this might not be just an ordinary zombie situation. After observing carefully for a long time, I finally noticed a patch of grass swaying rhythmically. I watched for a while before discovering a person crawling on their belly inside. Though moving extremely slowly, they were clearly heading in our direction. Alarm bells rang in my head, and I quickly went to wake the others. After watching the footage for a while, both Dad and my brother confirmed, this person must be seriously injured. Their crawling movements are very awkward, they're barely using their hands, mainly relying on their shoulders and legs. When he was just about 10 meters away from us, figures of zombies began to appear in the distance, although they hadn't spotted him yet. It was only a matter of time. Even through the blurry video, I could sense his despair in that moment. Without much hesitation, we opened the door, and my father and brother rushed out to bring him back. He was a middle-aged man, now covered in blood, his features unrecognizable. As he entered the house, he gasped in a hoarse voice, "Please, help." Before immediately passing out, I had my father and brother carry him upstairs to a bedroom, not daring to let my guard down. I quickly found a sturdy rope and tied his limbs firmly to the bed. From what I remember, after being infected by zombies, the transformation usually takes about 10 minutes. His body was ice cold now. After some thought, I placed a hot water bottle beside him to prevent further heat loss. Looking at this disheveled man, I said, "Hold on a little longer. As long as we confirm you haven't turned, I'll definitely save you." Our family waited outside the room, with my brother holding a crossbow. The moment any strange sound came from inside, he would immediately go in and finish him off. After a long 20 minutes, it remained completely silent inside. I sighed in relief. He wasn't infected. My brother stopped me, glanced at his watch, and said, "Wait 10 more minutes." Time passed quickly, and the man was fortunate. He indeed wasn't infected. I examined his condition, and as suspected, both his arms were fractured. He had numerous minor abrasions, none life-threatening. His coma was likely caused primarily by hypothermia and starvation. I helped him with basic cleaning and disinfection. Fortunately, it was a non-open fracture. To ensure my family's health, I had brought along many professional books from my previous studies and had been reviewing them recently. Using my knowledge, I performed bone setting for him and then secured it with wooden planks. I only have theoretical experience, but you won't find a better doctor now, so make do with this. As for whether I said it correctly, that's up to fate now, I added silently in my heart. After dressing his wounds, I covered him with a thin blanket and gave him some sugar water. By this time, dawn was approaching and I was exhausted. I patted the German shepherd's head and said, "You sleep here, come find me when he wakes up." The German shepherd ran downstairs to fetch its own mat, then obediently lay down, feeling reassured. I went back to my room to sleep. When I woke up again, the sun was already high in the sky. That man had also woken up and was now weakly half lying on the bed. Seeing me enter, my elder brother spoke first. "I thought you were too tired, so I didn't let the German shepherd come to call you." The man also looked up at me directly, and only then did I notice how handsome he was, with a pair of resolute eyes. Thank you for saving me." I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. "No need to thank us, it's fate that brought you here. By the way, how did you find this place?" He lowered his head slightly. "Actually, this is my grandfather's house." Both my brother and I stood up in shock. "You're the old station master's grandson?" he asked in confusion. "Do you know my grandfather?" I scratched my head. "My brother used to work at your grandfather's gas station." I panicked a little, not knowing how to explain why we had turned this place into a shelter and stored so many things. Fortunately, he didn't ask but continued. "When the zombies suddenly broke out, the villa area where I lived was relatively peaceful, probably because of the low population density, but as the weather turned cold, food shortages began to emerge, and staying warm became an issue. Gradually, looting incidents started occurring. The most critical part was that some people nearby formed gangs and began plundering supplies everywhere. These people were utterly ruthless, looting, smashing, burning, they did it all. When I realized they had targeted my area and started taking action, I packed my supplies and fled by car overnight. I immediately thought of my grandfather's place, so I drove straight in this direction. After arriving here, I noticed there were quite a few zombies around. The only way I could break through was by running them over with my car, but in the chaos, I crashed into a tree and passed out. He let out a bitter laugh. "Honestly, I don't know how long I was unconscious. It was the faint smell of instant noodles that woke me up. At the time, I wasn't sure if it was just a hallucination before death, but as long as there was a glimmer of hope, I wanted to survive." We were all shocked by his story, and we also knew that while this place might still be a paradise, the outside world had already descended into chaos. My brother patted him on the shoulder. "Focus on recovering from your injuries first. Don't overthink other things for now." "That's right, you need to replenish your energy now. I'll bring the food up for you later." I agreed. Our whole family left the room. As I closed the door, I couldn't help but turn back and saw him staring straight at us, his lips trembling as if he still had something to say, but when our eyes met, he immediately lowered his gaze. Over the next few days, he focused on recovering from his injuries, and we learned more about him. His name was Lennon, and he had previously worked in research at a pharmaceutical company. I could sense a deep restlessness in him. He couldn't even sit still while recuperating, but he never spoke up about it. Then one day, as I was changing his bandages, That anxious look returned to his face. Unable to hold back, I asked, "Is there someone you're really worried about?" He remained silent, but I could sense his anxiety was on the verge of breaking. I tried to console him. "You can tell us, even if we can't help. Talking about it might make you feel better." After I rambled on for a while, he gradually calmed down, as if he had made up his mind about something. He grabbed my arm and said, "Isabella, you can help. Maybe you're the only ones who can." From then on, he told us everything about his past. It turned out that Lennon was originally one of the core researchers at Guangcheng Biotech, a world-leading pharmaceutical company. He had been working on neurosensory drugs. Until the day before the zombie outbreak, he was working overtime at the company when he suddenly received an emergency evacuation order for all staff. He found it strange at the time and called his close friend, also a core researcher, who hesitated on the phone, making him realize the situation wasn't simple. So he hurried home and urgently stockpiled some food, a move that ultimately allowed him to survive until now. The next day, zombie outbreaks occurred in multiple locations. His intuition told him this was related to their company's emergency evacuation. However, confidentiality between different research projects at their company was extremely strict, so he had no idea what exactly had triggered this incident. Then, within 2 days, the company suddenly sent his research materials to all team members, instructing them to store the files themselves. At this point, he understood the severity of the situation. The company had always treated confidentiality as paramount, never allowing research materials to be taken home. This move seemed more like risk dispersion, or perhaps the company had suffered a major attack. Soon, he received a large amount of materials sent by his friend, including a video where he appeared pale, haggard, and incoherently sobbing. "I'm infected. I only have 15 minutes left. It's all my fault. I messed everything up. I've let everyone down. Lennon, among our group, you're the most talented. You're the only one I can think of. You must save humanity." Within those 15 minutes, he calmed his friend, clarified the crucial information, and received all the materials. From that moment, he finally confirmed that the zombie disaster which had ruined countless lives was caused by their company. The whole thing began with the development of a drug designed to enhance human physical strength and constitution. While there were many such supplements on the market, their effects were not significant and required prolonged use for minimal results. What they aimed to create was an enhanced version. There was actually already a mature version, but the company's decision-maker felt it wasn't enough. They wanted something even stronger. As a result, their team hit a prolonged bottleneck. The turning point came when they extracted a certain component from a rare plant that caused rapid increases in strength, speed, and even intelligence in lab mice. This development sparked immense interest among the shareholders, and from then on, their project team gained significant momentum. When the drug was introduced to human trials, it immediately showed substantial performance enhancements in subjects. After 3 months, these improvements stabilized, and after 6 months of observation, the effects remained consistent. Delighted, they initially deemed the drug development a success and lifted the quarantine, allowing the first batch of test subjects to re-enter society. But soon, tragedy struck. This entire group mutated, violently attacking humans and triggering large-scale riots in just 15 minutes. There was too little to explain. Lennon had barely grasped the situation when he witnessed his close friend transform into a mindless killing monster, his once brilliant and talented brain gradually hollowed by the virus's erosion. Later, Lennon spent considerable time studying the report. Just as he understood its principles, invaders arrived at his location. In the chaos, he gathered all the documents and the last remaining food. Deciding to flee to a safe place, the car had over half a tank of gas. After considering all possible destinations, he finally decided to go to his grandfather's house, which is where we are now. "Isabella, all the materials are still in the car. Every extra day they stay outside increases the chance of them being destroyed. I didn't want to drag you into this, but this might be humanity's last hope." My mind was racing with thoughts. For 3 lifetimes, I had always believed the zombie outbreak was a natural disaster, never imagining it could be man-made. When I collapsed in the woods, I had this feeling like I'd been through all this before, that my life would end right there. Lennon's voice choked with emotion. "But you saved me. My feeling was wrong, and there's still hope after all." I felt a sudden shock throughout my body. I could never understand why it was me, why I kept being reborn again and again. I originally wanted to save more people, but ended up harming a family instead. Given another chance, I just want to safely rescue my family. Somehow, my actions seem to be connected to the fate of all humanity. Perhaps saving Lennon is the mission of my rebirth. Maybe helping Lennon is truly the way I can save humanity. Unconsciously, my heart grew firm once more. "Do you remember roughly where your car was parked?" Yes. Lennon nodded excitedly. "I'll show you, soon." With the cooperation between me and my brother, we obtained the materials. Lennon was so shocked by our alarm trap that his jaw dropped. How did you prepare so thoroughly and come up with so many solutions? My brother and I exchanged a glance and wordlessly closed our mouths. Lennon didn't know about our reincarnation, and we didn't want to be seen as monsters. We got hold of Lennon's computer. Additionally, anticipating possible power outages, he had printed all the materials beforehand. These documents stood as tall as a person and filled the entire trunk. I was stunned. Have you actually read through all these materials? Lennon scratched his head. Actually no. I only read the parts relevant to the research. These documents contain the entire project plan, including construction plans, market investment strategies. It would take forever to read everything. We looked at the materials piled up like a small mountain on the ground, then turned our gaze unanimously to Lennon. So what do we do next? Lennon said confidently. As long as we have a laboratory, we can start developing the serum and vaccine. Our whole family blurted out, where are we supposed to get a lab now? After much discussion, we all agreed that our only hope now lies with the outside world, hoping the government has already mobilized some forces. We just need to hold out until rescue arrives. Lennon settled in comfortably with our family and quickly became one of us, during mealtimes every day. Even though both hands are occupied, he's always the fastest at grabbing food. Lennon looks refined and handsome, speaks gently too, so my mom absolutely adores him and always prepares special meals for him. My dad and brother both believe that to get rescued they needed to attract attention. Dad arranged an SOS pattern on the rooftop, while brother started working on the radio, hoping to pick up some signals. Lennon usually spends time studying materials, as a medical student. I've also stepped into the field of biological sciences and often study alongside him. Whenever I encounter something incomprehensible, the expert is right there, ready to answer my questions. Admittedly, bioscience can be quite dry. I occasionally browse through project materials, which cover broader topics and use simpler language. For someone like me who's still studying and only half committed, these materials serve as an easier entry point compared to advanced academic papers. Acting as a sort of mental break, little did I know this casual habit would alter the course of our lives and humanity itself. The turning point came over 2 weeks later. One day while reviewing project progress, I unexpectedly discovered that Light Creation Bio had previously built a laboratory approximately 200 to 300 kilometers from here, primarily for animal testing and limited human trials. The facility spans 5 floors, 2 basement levels and 3 above ground, with detailed floor plans available. The second basement serves as parking. The ground floor contains reception and administrative offices. Main experimental equipment occupies the first basement and second floor, while the third floor functions as storage. What excites me most is that from this floor plan, I can see the power storage room, which suggests there should be its own power generation equipment. This is quite common. Large laboratories usually have their own power generation equipment to avoid power outages or transmission failures affecting experimental results, Lennon said while flipping through the materials. The most important issue now is to sort out the experimental equipment and stored materials inside. If these things are useless, our trip would be in vain. Soon we found the procurement list of equipment and drugs. Lennon quickly scanned it and said excitedly, "The items here are basically complete. I believe we have sufficient conditions to begin serum research." It didn't take me much time to decide to go to the laboratory with Lennon. From the moment we retrieved the materials, this path was one I had to take. Before our parents could say anything, my brother firmly objected. "Lennon and I will go, not you," he said angrily. "I'm a man, I can be of more help there." I shook my head. "Brother, I studied medicine, I understand basic biology. I'm the most suitable to be Lennon's assistant." My brother was about to say more, but I stopped him and said resolutely, "Brother, I've lived twice, this time I can feel it. This is my purpose. Even if I fail, even if I lose my life for it, I won't regret it." I smiled slightly. "Brother, I want you here. I need you here, to take care of our parents, to live long, until we develop the serum." My brother fell silent, and I knew he had agreed. What followed was a flurry of intense preparations. First came basic living necessities, the instant food products, instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, and canned goods we'd bought earlier were all put to use. Mom preserved large quantities of meat and other items, which might become our only food supply going forward. We couldn't guarantee maintaining our current standard of living afterward, so all the outdoor gear we'd previously purchased was put into service: sleeping bags, water purifiers, alcohol stoves, fuel, most importantly. All our materials, computers, a small generator, diesel, etc. The entire vehicle was packed full. To fit more items, my brother and father even removed the back seats. My brother carefully mapped out the route, marking gas stations and potential supply points along the way. After 2 days of preparation, the time to depart has finally arrived. before boarding, my brother and parents hugged me tightly. "If things don't go well there, come back immediately. We don't need you to save the world. We just want you to be safe, understand?" Mom said with a sob. My brother patted Lennon on the shoulder. "Protect my little sister." Lennon nodded solemnly. "I will." Lennon and I embarked on our journey. The 200-kilometer distance actually took just over 3 hours. But the main concern was not knowing what might happen along the way or what the outside world was like now. The biggest threats on the road were still zombies, with occasional sightings of 1 or 2 vehicles, though everyone tacitly avoided disturbing each other. Following the points marked by my brother, we found gas stations and roadside supermarkets, but the stores were either already emptied with zombies lurking inside, or heavily guarded and completely inaccessible. We passed 7 or 8 gas stations, all of which were in complete disarray. We didn't risk getting out of the car until the last station, which, being quite remote, appeared to be in much better condition. After confirming it was safe, we got out to refuel, although we're not short on supplies now. It's always good to stock up when possible. Soon we arrived at the research institute. Fortunately, its security system was intact, and there seemed to be no zombies inside. We tried to park the car on the basement level too, but found it already swarming with zombies. We couldn't even get close to the entrance and ended up attracting their attention. They nearly caught up and latched onto our car. The institute's main gate is extremely sturdy, with no way to enter from the outside. We all speculated it must be controlled by a central system and can only be opened from the inside, left with no choice. We circled around the institute several times and eventually discovered an inconspicuous side door secured by a coded lock. "I'll go in first to check the situation. You wait at the main gate, and once I open it, drive the car inside. If I haven't opened the gate within 30 minutes, just drive back and find the others." Without waiting for me to stop him, Lennon jumped out of the car and ran towards the small gate, watching his retreating figure. I had no choice but to drive the car to the main gate first. I waited anxiously in my seat, but fortunately, the main gate soon opened. "I've checked inside, everything's fine. The equipment and other items are all well preserved," Lennon said as he ran upstairs, wiping sweat from his brow. Seeing his expression, I felt conflicted. "Lennon, you don't need to take such risks. If there's a zombie inside," I didn't continue. He replied nonchalantly, "I promised your brother I'd protect you well. And I also want you to live safely." We inventoried the Research Institute's equipment and decided to use the basement level as our main experimental area. The primary power generators and lab equipment were all in the basement, too heavy for just the 2 of us to move. Moreover, the basement's layout was complex with dense surveillance coverage, which would buy us more time to react if intruders ever broke in. That night, Lennon and I curled up in sleeping bags, exhausted from the day's work. Neither of us felt sleepy. "Do you think the experiment can continue with just the 2 of us?" When this project started, there was a team of over 100 people. Have you heard of a theory that in any team, 1/3 of the people do the work, 1/3 don't do anything, and 1/3 hinder others from working? Lennon turned his head, and even in the darkness, I could see his sparkling eyes. In a team of over 100, there were people handling marketing, planning. But the real core RD team was only about a dozen, although we're not even 1/3 of that now. Without those who hinder others, it's already enough. I couldn't help but laugh at this. "You're really optimistic. Now I'm starting to believe we can do it too." The life of research is extremely monotonous, and our lives have become very busy. Lennon conducts experiments, takes notes, and analyzes data every day. I strive to be a useful assistant, cultivating bacterial strains, monitoring the environment, washing beakers and test tubes for him, and so on. To our pleasant surprise, this lab is also well stocked with supplies, ensuring basic living conditions, so we no longer have to live on canned food every day. After about 6 months, the first testable version of the serum was developed. We conducted experiments on lab mice, but the results were poor. The mice quickly mutated after being attacked by zombies. At this point, we were utterly disheartened. Having a prototype in just 6 months was already remarkably fast, as many vaccines take years to develop, yet, time was running out, and the lab's stockpile of supplies was limited. I even had the urge to go back to my parents and brother, but as soon as I got into the car, I calmed down. What would going back accomplish? Our stored food would last at most 2 or 3 years. What then? Starve to death in despair again? Spend the remaining time trapped in that house, waiting hopelessly? With that thought, I wiped away my tears and opened the car door again. Lennon was standing outside, waiting silently. When he saw me, he rushed over and hugged me. His frustration was no less than mine. The pressure he bore far exceeded what I endured, and carrying the mission to save the world was no easy task. We hugged each other and cried our hearts out, feeling much better afterward, and regained our spirits. Over the next 3 months, we developed a new version, and this time, the experiments on animals succeeded. Just as we were considering how to mass produce and conduct further tests, luck finally smiled upon us. That morning, we heard the sound of a helicopter circling overhead. We rushed to the rooftop and immediately spotted my brother sitting up there. I excitedly waved at him, and after coming down, he gave us both a big hug. After you left, we kept placing SOS signals on the rooftop. Finally yesterday, we were discovered by the government's rescue team. A burly soldier descended from the helicopter and saluted us. "Dear Lennon, it's a tremendous surprise to hear you're still alive." We all shook hands with him. "We've now established a sizable base with ample experimental equipment and materials. We hope you'll join us." Lennon and I exchanged a smile. Dawn had finally arrived. Story 2. As the extreme cold apocalypse approached, the last app one used on my phone became my superpower. In my previous life, I happened to be ordering takeout. With this power, I managed to provide well for my husband and his family. Driven by their saintly hearts, my husband and mother-in-law insisted on bringing over his cousin Virginia and her son Burke to live with us. Fearing that revealing my superpower would bring unwanted trouble, I vehemently refused. They then deprived me of my power and threw me off the 26th floor, where I died from the fall and was frozen into an ice sculpture. In this new life, I kept a close watch on my phone, pretending not to notice that my nephew Burke looked strikingly like my husband, and at the last second, I opened the SHAN app. When I opened my eyes again, Virginia had just arrived at my house with her son Burke. While welcoming them, my mother-in-law Violet gave me a stern look. "Can't you see the guests are here? Go defrost the shrimp in the fridge and make something nice for Burke to replenish him." I glanced at Burke, who looked a lot like my husband, and sneered to myself. In my past life, I was so blind, I thought it was just a coincidence, but because I trusted Burton, I suppressed all my suspicions. It was only before my death that I discovered Virginia wasn't Burton's cousin at all, but his childhood sweetheart. To get his hands on my family fortune, Burton behaved modestly and courteously, doing everything to my liking, just to get close to me. By that time, Virginia was already pregnant. He comforted her, saying that only by marrying me could Burke have a worry-free life. He also promised Virginia that it was impossible for us to have children together. In my previous life, as Virginia plunged the knife into my heart, she said, "I hear you're getting injections every day, but it's useless. No matter how many you get, you won't be able to conceive, especially since you're taking so much amphotericin every day." Virginia's laughter was piercing, and it chills me to the bone even now. Amphotericin is an anti-cancer drug. Excessive long-term consumption not only causes hair loss but also damages the heart and, of course, affects the reproductive system. Burton had planned it well, quietly replacing my daily supplements with amphotericin, waiting for me to die so he could bring Virginia and Burke into the household. But the apocalypse arrived first. Before the apocalypse in my previous life, I was just ordering takeout, so I unlocked the superpower related to it. With this ability, any food I ordered on my phone would appear the next second. Thanks to this superpower, we managed to live decently in the extreme cold apocalypse. With the power system severely damaged and no one out to repair it, fire became scarce. Eating something hot was like a dream. To let Virginia and Burke also enjoy hot meals, Burton and Violet, heedless of consequences, insisted on bringing this mother and son back to live with us. Wealth should not be flaunted. I didn't agree much. In such apocalyptic times, just surviving was hard enough, let alone if people knew about my superpower, it would bring a lot of trouble. But Burton knew the secret of my power. When I unlocked the power, a voice in my head said, "It's best not to tell anyone about this power. If someone kills you, they will inherit your power." Blinded by love, I told Burton this crucial weakness, hoping he would protect me from others. But unexpectedly, the person who wanted me dead was him, ignoring my protests. Burton brought Virginia and her son, who lived upstairs, back to our home and brutally stabbed me several times. While I was powerless, he threw me down from the 26th floor. Killing Burton unlocked my special abilities, allowing me to survive the apocalypse safely with Virginia and her son. Reflecting on these events from my past life fills me with rage. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I am determined to make those responsible pay dearly. A family gathered around the table, enjoying a lively meal together. I stood by, finding the scene painfully glaring. I counted the days, knowing that at midnight tonight, the extreme cold apocalypse would arrive. Many people would fall asleep, unaware and underdressed due to the summer weather, and many would freeze to death overnight. Our home, however, had a temperature control system. We immediately turned up the heat when we felt the temperature drop. Though the system crashed at midnight, by the time we woke up, We were all safe and sound. In my past life, I couldn't sleep at midnight and, having been disgusted by Virginia and her son's eating manners during the day, I hadn't eaten much, so I woke up to order takeout. Just as I placed the order, a voice rang in my ear. "Congratulations, you have successfully unlocked the instant delivery ability. Any food you order on your phone will appear right in front of you." At first, I thought it was ridiculous, but to my surprise, any food I ordered indeed came directly to me. This time around, I planned to make sure this family would have nowhere to lay their bodies to rest. At 9 o'clock, Burke started fussing about wanting to go home to play video games, and Burton immediately offered to take them. I stopped him, saying thoughtfully, "Why go back? We have a gaming room right here. Let Burke play at our place. Virginia, you should stay too. We have plenty of space after all." Virginia and Burke were, of course, eager to stay, and they immediately agreed. Our home occupied the largest single unit in the building. The entire top floor was mine. The facilities were all-encompassing. Burton had rented a comfortable yet smaller 60-square-meter apartment for Virginia downstairs. Despite its comfort, Burton had limited funds and had rented it behind my back, which made it less ideal compared to our home. My mother-in-law Violet was overjoyed, immediately going to fetch a down comforter for Burke. Happy, I thought. Let's see how long that lasts. As midnight approached, my heart raced with anticipation, and I prepared to open SHAN. In my previous life, I could only obtain food, lacking many other supplies. I had thought then, if only I had opened SHAN instead. SHAN had not just food, but also numerous other essential items. In the extreme cold apocalypse, everyone would wrap themselves in blankets. And with the water and power outage, even those who had the habit of storing food found their supplies frozen solid and hard to swallow. If it weren't for me, Burton and Violet wouldn't have survived at all. At 11:58 p.m., I first turned off the house's main power. Unsure if my abilities would work on others, I took preemptive action. Once the power was cut, even those who were awake put down their devices and started checking around. Meanwhile, I hid in the storage room. This storage room was extremely well hidden. My father only told me about it before he died, revealing it was located behind the master bathroom. Before he passed, he made me promise not to tell anyone about this room. "My darling, you are naive and too trusting. This storage contains 900 kilograms of gold bars and the deeds to our 98 properties. No matter what happens, these will be enough for you to live well." Remembering my father's last words to me, my eyes slowly filled with tears. My father had prepared everything for me. Yet I still encountered the wrong people, suffering greatly in my past life. I stared intently at the phone in front of me, determined to live well this life. As my father had hoped, the screen displayed SHAN, which I had opened earlier. As soon as the clock struck 12, I began fervently scrolling through SHAN, trying to awaken the voice from my previous life. As expected, it wasn't long before I heard a voice near me. "Congratulations, you have unlocked a special ability on SHAN. Anything you order will appear right in front of you. Be careful, this ability must remain a secret. If someone with ill intentions kills you, they will acquire your ability." Hearing this, a pain shot through my heart, and I was reminded of my past life experiences. My nails involuntarily dug into my flesh, the sharp pain constantly reminding me not to be naive again. I quickly ordered a thin thermal shirt on SHAN, and soon it materialized before me. I hurriedly put it on. If I'm not mistaken, the temperature is already starting to drop. After setting everything up, I turned the electricity back on, and the room brightened, unexpectedly, when I turned on the light. I found Burton tightly embracing Virginia on the sofa. They hadn't anticipated the lights coming on and quickly sprang apart. I pretended not to notice and went straight to my room to sleep. Burton said he had to work overtime and told me to sleep first. I knew he went to Virginia's guest room. It's better this way. I find him disgusting now, and I have many plans to consider. In the morning, it was bitterly cold. I had preemptively ordered plenty of warming equipment, so I wasn't rudely awakened by the cold as in my past life. Close to dawn, the whole city experienced a blackout and water outage. Burton and Virginia woke up freezing. Oh, I had turned off the heating in every room except mine before going to bed. When I went out, they were in the kitchen, looking completely lost. Seeing me, they quickly asked if I had stored any food or supplies. I shook my head and started talking about a dream I had last night. I dreamt last night that Burton had a special ability. Everyone turned to look at me, especially Burton, who was extremely anxious and eagerly pressed me for details. "It's like he can place an order for food, and the next morning, it will appear on the table." Everyone rubbed their hands skeptically, but Virginia pulled at Burton's arm, admiringly saying, "I knew my cousin was the best. To have such an amazing ability at a time like this, I couldn't stand their flattery." But Burton clearly enjoyed the admiration, his cheeks flushing as he continued to ask, "Did your dream say anything else?" "Not much else, just that occasionally it would send me dreams to guide us on what to do next. It's just a dream, though, who knows if it's true." I said this deliberately. I am well aware of my situation. If these people think I'm useless, I would be the first one they'd abandon in extreme circumstances, to prevent them from harboring ill intentions towards me. I must protect myself. Sure enough, Burton's gaze towards me changed. Virginia muttered on the side, wondering why the dreams weren't about her. By evening, Burton solemnly knelt on the floor and made a wish. "I hope God grants me some food and drink." These people hadn't eaten all day. I had thrown all the food into the storage room the night before, and all the fire sources in the house, even if they wanted to burn something for warmth. It was impossible, when they're not paying attention. I sneak in to eat and keep warm. The crabs this season are plump and incredibly tasty with just one bite. After eating the crabs, having a bowl of seafood porridge is simply divine. I also ordered a generator, heaters, and various heating equipment. Outside it's tens of degrees below zero, but my storage room is as warm as spring. If I didn't have to go out and deal with these people, I would rather not leave at all. When I went out, I specifically ordered a spray to mask my scent. And everyone outside was starving. Violet saw me and was immediately irritated. "Which family's daughter-in-law behaves like this? The whole family is starving while you sleep soundly." I just smiled. The main thing is there's nothing to eat or drink. I thought I might as well lie down and save some energy. Who knows how long this weather will last? This resonated with everyone. They hadn't had a sip of water all day. All the water pipes were frozen solid. They wanted to thaw some ice to eat. But the temperature was too low to melt it unless someone used their body heat. They are all selfish. Who would make such a sacrifice? The worse it got, the more they hoped for Burton's special ability to be real, quietly praying it was true. The next morning, everyone woke up early, hungry and cold. They couldn't sleep at all and immediately checked the kitchen table which, sure enough, had food on it. Burke, extremely hungry, didn't wait for others and stuffed a piece of bread into his mouth, but choked because he ate too hastily. Virginia immediately grabbed a bottle of mineral water from the table for her son. Burke drank hurriedly and choked, spitting most of the water onto the floor. The water on the floor froze into a thin layer of ice within minutes. Violet, distressed and anxious, tried to scoop up the water but it was no use. But then she thought about her beloved grandson and held back her words, though she still said discontentedly, "Drink sparingly, Virginia, you too. Why didn't you stop him? He's just a child. Don't you know better? Didn't you see there's only one bottle?" Typically, this mother-in-law has a sharp nature. I never argue with her for Burton's sake, and over time, she thinks everyone should listen to her. But Virginia isn't me. Usually, she and her mother-in-law have no conflicts of interest, and everyone gets along well. But hearing Violet's complaint, she immediately became unhappy. "He's just a child, and you're so old yet still petty. Besides, if cousin has special abilities, are we really short of a little food?" Hearing praise for himself, Burton also appeared generous and gave Violet a look before going to check the food on the table. There were only 3 pieces of bread and 1 bottle of mineral water. Burke had already eaten 1 piece, so now there were only 2 pieces of bread and half a bottle of water left. Burton thought about it and tore half a piece of bread for me and half for Virginia, keeping 1 for himself. Violet's eyes widened, incredulous that she didn't get a piece of bread. "Son, what do you mean, Mom? You speak so energetically. You won't mind missing half a piece of bread. Look, I need to use my abilities. I can't be shortchanged. Virginia needs to take care of Burke. She naturally needs a share, too. Vicky needs to dream, to see the next step of instructions. Fine, I'll use my powers to get more food tonight. Tomorrow I promise you'll have a full belly," he said, dismissing the complaints with the claim that his generation was used to hardships, even going a day or 2 without food. Despite her dissatisfaction, Violet could do nothing but divide a small amount of water and sit aside, silently weeping. Seeing the family turn on each other brought me immense pleasure. But don't worry, this is just the beginning. Suddenly, Burton grabbed me. "Did you dream of anything last night?" Burton looked at me expectantly. After this incident, he had immense faith in my dreams, firmly believing they were divine commands. I calmly removed his hand. "Well, I don't know who that person was, but he just told me to tell you not to be greedy, to ensure lasting prosperity." Afraid that Burton wouldn't believe me, I quickly added, "Right. He also warned us to be careful about hail soon and advised us not to go outside." No sooner had I spoken than hail began to sporadically fall outside. In my past life, it was the same. Many people, having neither food nor drink, planned to go out today to assess the situation, but were unexpectedly met with hail, leading to numerous fatalities. Burton, puzzled, looked out the window and muttered to himself, "Why doesn't my power give me these dreams instead of you?" By this time, Virginia had finished her half of the bread and reached up to me. Give me half of your bread. Why should I? I hid the bread behind me. Aren't you afraid I'll starve to death? Without me, who will relay the contents of the dreams? Do you want to drag everyone down with you? Virginia's tone softened immediately. It's not for me. Look at your nephew. He obviously hasn't eaten enough. He wolfed down his food so quickly. He couldn't have tasted anything. You wouldn't want such a young child to starve, right? You can't stand to see your only blood relative suffer. Fine. Using this argument against me, I turned to look at Burton. What do you say? Burton, who had just stuffed his bread, mumbled with his mouth full. You're already thin and don't eat much. Just give half to Burke. After all, he's our only descendant. With a cold snort, I tore half of the bread for Burke and went straight into the house. Fine then. I just wonder if you'll be so generous tomorrow when there's only one piece of bread left for your only descendant. 06. As soon as I entered the storage room, I quickly prepared a small hot pot for myself. It was really too cold outside. If I stayed out any longer, my limbs felt like they wouldn't be my own. The storage room was a comfortable 26 degrees Celsius, the ideal temperature for humans. I took off my bulky coat and quietly watched the surveillance monitors. Fearing that Burton and the others might discover, I had installed cameras not just throughout the house but also at the entrances to the bedroom and storage room. As soon as they approached, I would know and could immediately go out. Lately, they didn't really want to see me, especially now in these apocalyptic times. Burton usually used the excuse of guarding our safety outside and hadn't entered my room. This made it convenient for me to operate. Fortunately, I could remotely control the entrances and exits of this storage room. Even if they knew about this place, they couldn't break in. As soon as the people on the monitor saw me enter the room, they dropped their guard. Virginia hugged Burton, cooing incessantly, "Thank God for you, otherwise I don't know how we would cope." Burton tightly embraced Virginia, and the two of them clung together, warming up a bit. "Don't worry, I won't let you and our son suffer. Tomorrow, I'll use my powers to get even more food." Meanwhile, the mother-in-law, her face red from the cold, looked on with cold eyes, silently swallowing her saliva, her eyes filled with resentment. At night, Burton knelt down with even greater piety and made a wish. "Oh Lord, since you have granted me these special powers, why not give me a little more? It's not enough to eat. Please, give us more food and water tomorrow." I listened from the side, holding back a laugh and shaking my head. The next day, before dawn, everyone gathered around the table, waiting for food, but there was nothing. I quietly spoke of my dream from the night before. "People say you're too greedy. Today, you can only have one bottle of water and a loaf of bread." Burton was infuriated upon hearing this. A normal person could barely manage with one loaf for a day, yet these people hadn't eaten the day before. "You're making it up." Just then, a loud noise came from outside the window, and everyone's gaze shifted in that direction. I quickly threw the bread and water I had hidden in my down jacket onto the table. When they turned around, they saw just one bottle of water and a loaf of bread on the table, which left everyone both shocked and scared. Although Burke was only 10 years old, he reacted quickly. He grabbed the bread and, without hesitation, stuffed it into his mouth, swallowing it in one gulp. Burton realized what was happening and immediately tried to pry Burke's mouth open to retrieve the half-eaten loaf. Virginia, wanting to prevent her son from being at a disadvantage, held Burton back, allowing Burke to swallow the entire loaf. Because he ate in such a rush, he immediately washed it down with half a bottle of water. This action thoroughly enraged Burton, who broke free from Virginia and kicked Burke in the stomach. Burke, who had been coddled from a young age, couldn't handle such rough treatment and started wailing. "Bad daddy, you're a bad daddy. I don't want to recognize you anymore." Burton, still furious, rushed up and slapped Burke twice more. "You little brat, I let you eat, and here you are eating alone while the whole family goes hungry." Virginia was the first to regain her composure, pulling me aside to explain. "Sister-in-law, he's just a child talking nonsense. Don't mind him." Although she said this, the smug look in Virginia's eyes was unmistakable. Meanwhile, the grandmother, not saying a word, took the opportunity to secretly drink the rest of the water when no one was paying attention. This set Burton off completely, and he slapped the grandmother. "You old fool, how much longer do you even have to live? And you're so desperate for a sip of water." The grandmother, not one to be trifled with and having seen her son's true colors during yesterday's ordeal, didn't care that this was her only son from the family. At a critical moment like this, she started fighting with Burton. Virginia, happy to see the attention diverted, held her son close and kept silent. After they had enough, I pulled Burton aside and whispered in a moderate tone, "The dream last night told you not to be greedy, or else tomorrow you'll still only have one bottle of water and a loaf of bread." Burton muttered under his breath, "It's my power, I'll use it for myself. These ungrateful wretches can't be trusted." I was aware of Burton's selfishness, but didn't expect it to this extent. However, it also made things easier for me. I continued, also, someone said that if someone kills you, they'll inherit your powers. I don't know if they'll give others the same dream, but with the situation as it is, you'd better be careful. Burton was filled with gratitude for my advice. The way he looked at me softened as he spoke. Don't listen to Burke's nonsense. He doesn't have a father, and sometimes when he misses having one, he calls out to me, "Vicky, you have to believe that my heart is with you." I felt disgusted hearing this, but I still managed to smile and reassured him that I understood. "Don't worry, I'll share some food with you tomorrow." The words were spoken clearly enough for the other 3 people in the room to hear. At this moment, Violet had fully realized what her son was truly like. Her face still bore the marks of injury and she wanted to cry, but it was too cold, and she dared not let the tears fall. Virginia never truly loved Burton, otherwise, no woman could endure her man marrying someone else. Previously a factory girl, Virginia clung to Burton, who was the most educated and capable man she knew, like a plaster, having been pampered from a young age. Burke couldn't tolerate anyone treating him poorly. The kick from Burton earlier had already severed all their emotional ties. When I stepped outside, I saw the varied expressions on the 3 faces and immediately understood they had heard the conversation. After Burton followed me out, he saw their expressions and figured it out as well. Burton discreetly pulled me aside into an unoccupied corner and whispered, "Could you ask the person in your dreams to change the location where they leave food for us tomorrow? I'll pray to him tonight as well." I understood what Burton meant and quickly agreed. Before dawn the next day, Burton was knocking on my door. I had been sleeping in the storeroom, where it was warm. As Burton approached, the alarm sounded, and I managed to get back to bed before he entered. Upon entering, Burton immediately grabbed my hand, then quickly noticed something was off. "Why are your hands so warm?" I hastily withdrew my hand. "I just had a dream." Probably got too excited. Mentioning the dream diverted Burton's attention, and he eagerly asked me about it. He agreed. He said he'll place the food in the guest room where you've been staying. "Aren't you staying there to keep watch recently?" Burton jolted, slapped his thigh, and cursed as he rushed towards that room. He was in a panic. The room was not just his anymore, as Virginia had been visiting him there every night. I followed him, anticipating the unfolding drama. Breathless, Burton arrived to find Virginia and Burke sharing bread. They had been cautious of Burton and had also come to eavesdrop on the food's location. By the time Burton arrived, they had already divided the bread. Furious, Burton grabbed Virginia by the head and repeatedly slammed it against the wall. "You treacherous woman, daring to steal food, go to hell." After saying this, Burton's eyes bulged, and the next second, he collapsed straight down. Burke had taken a lamp and struck him hard on the head. Burton was dazed but not fatally wounded. After a few seconds, he tried to get up, supporting himself with one hand. As he lifted his head, he felt a warmth on his neck and warm blood trickling down. When he turned around, it was his own mother. In disbelief, he gasped, "Mom," unable to hold back any longer. Violet embraced Burton and wept bitterly. "My son, don't blame me. I couldn't bear the hunger anymore. I haven't eaten in days. If you die, Burke will continue to live well in your place." Before Burton could fully process Violet's words, he collapsed again. Violet eventually stopped breathing. Amidst her tears, Violet suddenly burst into laughter. "Now the special ability is mine." Saying this, she walked towards me. "Don't worry, I won't be as selfish and greedy as he was. Vicky, can you convey my message? I don't need a lot of food, just enough will do. And I'll make sure the food is divided equally among everyone. No one will be shortchanged." Virginia was stunned by everything happening before her, but she quickly regained her composure. Seizing the moment while Violet was talking to me, Virginia grabbed the desk lamp from Burke's hand and smashed it onto Violet's head. "Mom, are you joking? There's only one portion of food, and you want to split it. Are you trying to kill us all?" Violet was dazed by the blow, unable to react before Virginia struck her several more times. Meanwhile, Burke wasn't idle either. He pulled a knife from Burton's neck and stabbed Violet fiercely in the chest. Violet instantly lost her breath, even though she loved her grandson dearly. Always thinking about the grandson who could carry on the family legacy, she ended up dying at the hands of her own flesh and blood. I know that extreme situations can bring out the worst in human nature, and they got what they deserved. Pretending to be scared, I waved my hands and stepped back. "Don't kill me. I won't compete with you for food. Do whatever you want." The mother and son seemed satisfied with my reaction and asked me to clean up the body. I nodded, said I would go get the tools, and then immediately ran back to my storage room. My storage room is truly comfortable. I ordered a bathtub for myself, boiled some scalding water, and took a good bath to wash away the bad luck. Seeing Burton die at his mother's hands, and Violet die at her grandson's hands, I felt extremely relieved. but I decided not to risk going out anymore. They would never find this storage room in their lifetime, and I have plenty of ways to lead them to their demise. I haven't forgotten what Virginia did to me in her past life. After I finished my bath, I made myself a pot of ham-stewed rice, along with boiled pork slices and braised pork. I comfortably adjusted the surveillance and watched while eating. After I left, the two quickly realized something was wrong and started searching the house for me. But they couldn't find me. They turned my bedroom upside down, but my trace was nowhere to be found. How could this be? This bitch just ran away like that. It shouldn't be. We were right at the door, and it's so high up. She couldn't have gone out the window. Virginia cursed through gritted teeth. Could there be some kind of secret room? Burke, watching too much TV, tapped around trying to find it. But how could the secret room meticulously crafted by my father be easily found by them? After a round of searching, they were completely exhausted and gave up. Burke, mimicking Burton's devout manner, knelt on the ground praying for tomorrow's food. After Virginia finished her prayers, she was too tired from the day's events and went back to her room to sleep early. Burke, however, was too stimulated by the day's events to sleep and sat in the gaming room staring at the computer screen. It was the perfect opportunity. I ordered a voice changer from SHEIN. Turned on the surveillance voice function, and called out to Burke, "Who's there?" Burke, startled by the sudden shout, immediately stood up. With no lighting equipment in the room, he couldn't see anything and, being young, was already trembling with fear. "Don't be afraid, I'm here to inform you that you've unlocked a special ability. From now on, you'll have food every day," came the announcement. Upon hearing this, Burke was thrilled beyond words. "Are you an angel? Can you give me more food? I'm so hungry. I've been surviving on just one loaf of bread a day and it's barely enough." At this moment, Burke was indeed skin and bones, yet his greed was evident as most of the food ended up in his own mouth. "Sure, if you kill your mother, I'll give you more food." Burke hesitated, falling silent for a long time. I remained quiet as well, unable to bear the silence. Burke finally whispered, "How much can I get?" "As much as you want. If you don't believe me, check the cupboard in the guest room near the entrance. I just placed a chicken leg there." The mention of a chicken leg lit up Burke's eyes. He hurried to the room and, in the darkness, found the chicken leg. He didn't even think of sharing it with Virginia, and devoured the entire leg by the cupboard. Had he not tasted the chicken leg, perhaps his desire wouldn't have been so intense, but now that he had tasted it, the rich flavor lingered on his taste buds. After reluctantly licking every finger clean, he greedily asked, "Great Spirit, do you have more?" "First do what you promised," I replied. Burke pursed his lips, fetched a kitchen knife, and stormed into Virginia's room. Virginia was exhausted and slept deeply, completely unaware as Burke plunged the knife into her heart. She didn't even have time to cry out before she stopped breathing, looking at his deceased mother. Burke's face was expressionless. "Mom, without food, you wouldn't have lasted much longer anyway. Don't worry, I'll make sure to survive for you and Dad." "Great Spirit, I've done it. Please give me some more food. I'm really starving." I chuckled, then removed the voice changer and spoke in my own voice. "No more food, you might as well wait to die." In that moment, Burke realized it was all my trap. Covered in blood and wielding the kitchen knife, he frantically searched for me, trying to locate my position. "Where are you? Come out now. When I find you, I'll kill you." Unfortunately, he would never find me. Watching these people die one by one, I finally avenged my past life. Although Burke hadn't done anything directly to me in his past life, he wasn't innocent. I wouldn't actively kill him, but whether he could survive on his own was up to him. With these matters settled, I could finally lie down and sleep peacefully.